Chapter 6:14. The distance between them slowly decreased. After 15 minutes, the old man was less than 500 meters away from Shao Chun. Die. The blue-robed old man's gaze turned cold as he used his palm as a saber. Vast quintessence gathered in his palm. His figure flashed, and he arrived above Shao Chun's head. Then, he hacked down with his palm. The palm wind howled and tiny cracks appeared in space. If this palm strike landed, Shao Chun would definitely suffer. The difference in speed was too great. One used quintessence while the other used essence. There was no way to compete. Since that was the case, there was no point in running. Thunder Shadow Chop. Shao Chun drew the lunar shadow saber at lightning speed. He turned around and retreated 7 steps, leaving behind 7 afterimages on the ground. Each afterimage had a saber, sending out 7 dazzling saber light. Merge. The afterimages merged, and the saber lit up with a dazzling light. The peak saber technique, that was infused with 7-fold might, clashed with the blue-robed old man's horrifying palm saber. Bang! The two moves collided head-on without any fancy move. Powerful energy ripples burst out and spread out in waves. The void was refracted layer by layer. Shao Chun retreated 3 steps, but the blue-robed old man retreated 10 steps. After the blue-robed old man stabilized himself, his expression changed greatly. He had been too careless with this palm strike. He had used only a quarter of his quintessence. Even so, he should have been able to injure a half-step martial monarch easily. Even if he could not injure the other party severely, he should not have lost to him in a clash of strength and even suffered a small loss. The blue-robed old man looked up and saw Shao Chun's face. He was slightly stunned and rage appeared in his eyes. He clenched his teeth and shouted, "It's you! White-robed bladesman, Shao Chun!" Sparks of electricity leaped around the saber. Shao Chun held his saber with one hand. He remained expressionless, not showing much fear. The other party had not reached peak inferior grade martial monarch. As long as 2 martial monarchs did not make a move, even if Shao Chun could not defeat the other party, he would be able to leave easily. Shao Chun said calmly, "I am not here for your netherworld flame. If you do not stop me, I will not interfere. How about we not interfere?" Ha 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 ha. The blue-robed old man laughed loudly. Not interfere? What qualifications do you have to say that? You were the one who destroyed the Holy Fire Manor's branch in Desolate City, right? Without evidence, old sir, please do not speak nonsense, Shao Chun said unhurriedly. His calm eyes showed no fluctuations. The blue-robed old man's pupils constricted, and a murderous intent spread in his eyes. He snorted coldly. "This place is desolate and uninhabited. No one will know if I kill you." The Holy Fire Manor's Desolate City branch had been destroyed, and his son had been killed. The blue-robed old man had investigated for a long time, and Shao Chun was the most suspicious. As long as there was this suspicion, Shao Chun deserved to die. "It looks like you really think that you are unrivaled after becoming the champion of the 5-nation youth competition. Today, I will show you the difference between you and a martial monarch." The blue-robed old man snored, his cold frost. Vast quintessence gathered on Shao Chun's right palm. He casually threw a palm strike, and space trembled violently. It was like a mountain covered his head. Hu Qi. The essence in Shao Chun's body instantly solidified. Thousands of purple lights shot out from all over his body. His pitch-black eyes turned deep purple as well, giving off a bright light in this dark underground. Clouds move everywhere, wind and lightning gather. Strong winds blew from all directions, and the clouds churned in the sky. Shao Chun instantly executed the starting moves of the lightning tribulation saber technique. Dang! The saber and palm clashed, and a surging shock wave exploded out. The charred ground instantly exploded. Countless black rocks flew up into the air, driven by the shock wave. Bang! 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 Amid the thousands of floating rocks, The two exchanged moves at lightning speed. Thunder roared, and the killing intent surged. The palm wind infused with strong quintessence caused space to tremble. Countless cracks appeared. The shock waves from the fight between the two caused the huge rocks floating in the surroundings to scatter like snowflakes. Along with the strong wind, the rocks scattered into the air, filling the air with dust. Earthly lightning tribulation. Wind and lightning gathered, and his aura reached its peak. Shao Chun completely unleashed the state of massacre from the throne. The berserk saber technique in his hand instantly gained an additional state of massacre. The might of the lightning tribulation immediately soared. Mountain pushing palm. The blue-robed old man was slightly startled. He circulated 70% of his quintessence, and a resplendent jade-like light surged on his right palm. When the blue-robed old man pushed his palm out, it was like a mountain moved, pushing all the wind over. Bang! A loud sound rang out, and a huge pit appeared under the two. The white inattributed flame hidden in it flew out like thousands of catkins. The blue-robed old man took a step back, moving 100 meters with each step. When he landed, he left a dent in the ground. Heavenly lightning tribulation. Shao Chen's aura flourished. He did not take a single step back. He turned into the heavenly Tao and laid down a second lightning tribulation. The blue-robed old man's aura weakened, and he was knocked back another 100 meters. Divine lightning tribulation. When the final lightning tribulation descended, the blue-robed old man retreated 500 meters with a pale complexion. He had not expected that even after using 70% of his quintessence, he still could not block Shao Chun. Chi. Shao Chun looked up and discovered that the blue-robed old man's body was covered in burning quintessence at some point in time. In that instant, the blue-robed old man's aura soared wildly, reaching peak inferior grade martial monarch. A strong wind blew behind him, kicking up wind everywhere. Quickly, run, Shao Chun. He is burning his quintessence. Furthermore, he is using the extreme Yin flame to burn it. You are definitely not a match for him, Ao Jiao said quickly from the lunar shadow saber. Burning quintessence was a technique that only martial monarchs could grasp. It drained their quintessence several times faster to increase their strength. Martial monarchs would not burn their quintessence unless they had no other choice. Furthermore, if the other party used the extreme Yin flame to burn his quintessence, his strength would increase even more. Shao Chun understood the severity of the situation. He sheathed his saber and quickly retreated. You are still thinking of running at this time? The blue-robed old man snorted coldly, and his figure flashed. In the blink of an eye, he caught up to Shao Chun. Everywhere he passed, the quintessence flames on his body burned a large patch of empty space. The blue-robed old man's palm wind was like thunder, pressing towards Shao Chun's back. A sense of extreme danger appeared in Shao Chun's heart. His face sank, and he quickly turned around. Then, he crossed his arms and materialized the stance of a dragon and a tiger. A dragon in the left hand and a tiger in the right. The dragon roared and the tiger roared, crouching tiger, hidden dragon. Bang! The palm strike landed on Shao Chun's arms, and he vomited a mouthful of blood. He tumbled a few times in the air before landing firmly on the ground after twisting his body. Shao Chun's chi and blood surged. The blue-robed old man's burning quintessence surged through his meridians. His internal organs were instantly damaged, and he felt intense pain. After wiping off the blood from his lips, Shao Chun knelt on one knee and smiled at the blue-robed old man. He said, "You truly are a martial monarch expert. You can injure me to such an extent with just one palm strike. I will exchange pointers with you in the future. I will definitely return this palm strike." The blue-robed old man knew Shao Chun and mocked him for bullying the weak. He said in a cold voice, "Even at death's door, you still dare to be stubborn. Even if you are a king-grade true dragon, you will have to kneel here today." Boom! However, just at this moment, a blazing fire suddenly surged out from Xiao Chen's right eye. The purple thunder true fire covered the sky as it moved towards the old man. Its aura was very horrifying. Insignificant skill. This old man has played with fire all my life. A large clump of pale white flames appeared on the blue-robed old man's right hand. There was an origin flame the size of a chicken egg in that flame, looking as resplendent as a star. The blue-robed old man casually waved his hand, and this clump of flames blasted apart the purple flames that covered Xiao Chen. They turned into sparks drifting down. The blue-robed old man revealed a cocky expression. He had cultivated his extreme Yin flame for 50 years. His origin flame was even stronger. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen dared to play with fire with him. However, the instant the flames scattered, the blue-robed old man's complexion turned green. He saw 81 figures of Xiao Chen in front of him. It was hard to tell which one was the real one. All of them flew in 81 different directions. If the blue-robed old man had personally seen Xiao Chen execute the roaming dragon's 9 transformations, he might have been able to tell which one was the real one. However, now that he faced 81 figures, how could he tell which was the real one? Damn it! The rage on the Holy Fire Manor's first Manor Lord's face was indescribable. A bona fide martial monarch expert had used the extreme Yin flame to burn his quintessence. Unexpectedly, a half-step martial monarch brat managed to escape. It was already embarrassing enough for the first Manor Lord to make a move against a junior. In the end, he failed to stop the other party, which was even more embarrassing. Fortunately, there were no outsiders here. Otherwise, if word of this spread, he would not be able to keep his old face. Bang! The blue-robed old man stomped heavily on the ground. He infused all his remaining quintessence and rage into this stomp. A long crack appeared in the ground. The energy in the crack was like a knife. As the crack extended, it even cut the air in half. "Big brother, what's going on?" A voice came from behind the blue-robed old man. It was the Holy Fire Manor's second Manor Lord rushing over. He had felt the blue-robed old man burn his quintessence, and thought that the blue-robed old man had run into a strong opponent. The blue-robed old man calmed himself and said, "That person is Xiao Chen." The gray-robed old man suddenly understood. He said, "The first rank of the true dragon ranking, the white-robed bladesman Xiao Chen, is the prime suspect for killing the first young master? Isn't he only a half-step martial monarch? How?" Seeing the blue-robed old man's hostile expression, the gray-robed old man quickly shut up. He said, "He ran off just like that? Will he come and cause trouble when we are hunting the netherworld fire spirit?" The first Manor Lord said coldly, "If he dares, it would be fine if he does not come. If he does, we can kill him as well. We will be able to obtain some of the king's luck he has. Send people to guard the exit. I don't believe that he will not come out. After we subdue the netherworld flame seed, we will come and settle the score with him. Don't be so rash in the future. Those who can become martial monarchs are definitely not mediocre. I have never seen anyone use essence to clash with quintessence. That is suicide," Ao Jiao, who was in the lunar shadow saber, chided. Xiao Chen had just consumed a 1,000-year-old spirit herb for treating injuries. He refined it for a while, allowing the medicinal energy to seep into his internal organs even faster. After a while, he vomited a mouthful of blood, and his complexion looked much better. When Xiao Chen heard Ao Jiao's words, he stood up and smiled. "It's fine. I know what I'm doing. After exchanging moves with that person, I gained a better understanding of my own strength." After the 5-nation youth competition, Xiao Chen's strength had soared. However, he had not found a suitable opponent. Among the half-step martial monarchs, no one could interest him. The blue-robed old man happened to be an inferior-grade martial monarch. By exchanging moves with him, Xiao Chen could gain a better understanding of his own strength. Chapter 6:15. With Xiao Chen's current combat prowess, A regular inferior-grade martial monarch would not be a match for him if he did not burn his quintessence. If Shao Chun encountered an inferior-grade martial monarch like the blue-robed old man who could use the extreme Yin flame to burn his quintessence, there would be a gap. If Shao Chun could advance to martial monarch and refine his essence into quintessence, the blue-robed old man would not last more than 10 moves against him, even if he burned his quintessence. Compared to Shao Chun, aside from having an advantage in quintessence, the blue-robed old man's martial techniques, cultivation techniques, and combat techniques were inferior. If Shao Chun used the purple thunder true fire to burn his quintessence, the blue-robed old man would not even be able to last 3 moves. A fervent look flashed in Shao Chun's eyes as he looked around. Then, he said, "Let's not talk about this anymore. Where is Ao Jiao's spirit vein's origin? I can't wait to see it. Head northeast. Walk 10 kilometers. You should be able to see a small hill. There is a restriction that the Thunder King left there. I'll help you open it." 10 kilometers was not too far. Shao Chun looked around. Although he felt a strong urge to rush over, he was not that rash. Shao Chun sat cross-legged on the ground again and continued to treat his injuries. He ensured that he would not sustain any injuries and rushed over in his best state. After 1 hour, Shao Chun opened his eyes. He felt energized. He pushed off the ground and turned into a flood dragon rushing over. However, before Shao Chun got far, he ran into some trouble. 10 odd ferocious fire spirits blocked his way. Shao Chun had seen fire spirits in the Scarlet Blood prison, so he did not panic. He knew how to deal with these inattributed fire spirits that did not feel pain. A clump of purple thunder true fire appeared with Shao Chun's right hand. A purple light flickered in his eyes, and the flame on his palm glowed with a dazzling light. Shao Chun had taken out his origin flame. The might of the purple thunder true fire, which contained the origin flame, was completely different from before. When Shao Chun saw the fire spirits flying over, he shouted, "Life bestowal spell." The flames immediately took shape and eventually turned into 10 sharp short swords. Shao Chun swung his right hand and the short swords shot out. Bang! Bang! Bang bang bang! The purple flame short swords of extreme yang stabbed into the hearts of these fire spirits and immediately exploded. The 10 troublesome fire spirits were instantly blown into countless sparks. Shao Chun smiled faintly, and a purple light flickered in his right eye. The short swords in the air turned into 10 beams of light and returned to his right eye. Relying on the short sword formed by the purple thunder true fire, Shao Chun swept his way forward. After 15 minutes, he arrived at the hill that Ao Jiao mentioned. The hill was not large, not more than 200 meters tall and stretching for 300 meters. It was black in color and looked extremely ordinary. There were countless similar hills in this underground world. The source of the spiritual vein is below here? Shao Chun walked around the hill and did not feel anything special about the spirit chi here. No matter how he looked at it, it was just an ordinary hill. Ao Jiao nodded and said, This spiritual vein's origin isn't suppressed by a spiritual gathering array, so the spiritual energy is leaking all year round. The Thunder King took half of it back then. He was afraid that someone would discover this place, so he casually laid down a restriction. Wait for me for a while. Xiao. Right after Shao Chun spoke, Ao Jiao flew out of the lunar shadow saber. The glow of the saber immediately dimmed significantly. It had been a long time since Shao Chun had seen Ao Jiao in person. He sized her up carefully and discovered that she had not changed at all. She was a head shorter than Shao Chun. She looked like a little girl, and her sexy figure was the same as before. Looking at the mound in front of her, Ao Jiao revealed a nostalgic expression. She sighed and quickly formed hand seals with her hands. When she was done, she pointed with her dainty right hand and said, "Open." Before Shao Chun's astonished gaze, the solid hill split in half. A surging spiritual energy surged out. "Don't just stand there. Quickly go in." If the two people from the Holy Fire Manor sense this spiritual energy, we will be in big trouble. Xiao Chun understood this principle. His figure flashed, and he turned into a purple light. Then, he instantly entered the tunnel at the foot of the hill. Ao Jiao entered after him. She formed hand seals again, and the hill closed up, returning to its ordinary state. The blue-robed old man and the gray-robed old man, who were heading for the netherworld flame seed in the distance, frowned at the same time. After advancing to martial monarch, cultivators would start cultivating mental energy. They were extremely sensitive to the changes in spiritual energy. At that moment, both of them sensed an abnormally powerful spirit chi gushing out abruptly. The gray-robed old man said, "Big brother, should we go and take a look? The Heavenly Extermination Lake is where the Tianwu dynasty's imperial capital used to be. A strange treasure might have appeared there. I'll go and take a look. Later, you can deal with the netherworld fire spirit," the blue-robed old man said after some thought. The tunnel was dark and gloomy. A dense spiritual fog lingered in the surroundings. The walls were covered in dew formed from spiritual energy. It looked like they had not dissipated even after thousands of years. There was no need to cultivate here. All one had to do was open their mouth and inhale, and their cultivation would increase instantly. However, Xiao Chen did not dare to inhale. The spiritual fog contained many impurities. The cave was not ventilated all year round. These impurities would cause significant harm to the physical body. Xiao Chen could only watch helplessly. As Xiao Chen walked forward, the spiritual fog dissipated at the end of the tunnel. An underground river appeared before his eyes. The water gushed, and a fragrant spiritual energy assaulted his nose. The entire river was actually made of spiritual liquid. Xiao Chen sighed and said, "This is really an extraordinary waste. How much spiritual energy has been wasted after 5,000 years, allowing a spirit river to flow continuously?" Ao Jiao, who was following behind Xiao Chen, smiled slightly. She said, "How ignorant! It is just the lowest grade spirit vein. You will know when you go to the Kunlun realm. When you see the heavenly spring ancient river, you will know what a true spirit river is." After being looked down upon by Ao Jiao, Xiao Chen smiled embarrassedly. He could not refute her. He knew that spirit veins were divided into different grades. However, he was not clear on how they were divided. The end of the spirit river was where the spirit veins' origin was. The two of them walked forward. Along the way, Ao Jiao explained the different grades of spirit veins to Xiao Chen. Spirit veins were divided into 5 ranks, from lowest to highest. Rank 1 spirit veins were the most ordinary. There would not even be any spirit stone mines around them. Only rank 2 spirit veins would have spirit stones. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion had a rank 2 spirit vein. However, the spirit stones that a rank 2 spirit vein produced were mostly inferior grade spirit stones. Medial grade spirit stones were rare. Only rank 4 spirit veins could produce large amounts of superior grade spirit stones. Rank 4 spirit veins were also known as peak spirit veins. There were less than 5 peak spirit veins in the Tianwu continent. Furthermore, they were in a state of near exhaustion. They could no longer produce large amounts of superior grade spirit stones. Rank 5 spirit veins were known as holy spirit veins. There was not a single one in the Tianwu continent. Even in the Kunlun realm, they were extremely precious. As they spoke, the two of them reached the end of the spirit river. When Xiao Chen saw the spirit veins' origin floating in the air, he frowned slightly. As they spoke, the two of them reached the end of the spirit river. When Xiao Chen saw the spirit veins' origin floating in the air, he frowned slightly. Spiritual rain fell continuously in the spiritual fog, providing a sufficient source of water for the spirit river on the ground. In the middle of the spiritual fog, there was an azure ball of light floating quietly. Layers of comprehension spread out from the ball of light. An azure ball of light floated quietly in the center of the spiritual fog. Layers of comprehension spread out from the ball of light. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and said, I'm afraid we made a wasted trip this time. My impression of the heavenly saber pavilion's spirit vein's origin is boundless, like I'm in the middle of a vast sea. However, Ao Jiao smiled happily and said, Hee hee. Idiot master, you picked up a treasure, and you still don't know anything? You are even stupider than Master Blockhead. Xiao Chen felt suspicious and asked, What do you mean? With one look, I can tell that you have not seen the heavenly saber pavilion's spirit vein's origin. Even the peak spirit vein's origin is only 10 meters wide. How can it be boundless? After thinking back, Xiao Chen remembered that he had indeed not seen the heavenly saber pavilion's spirit vein's origin. Back then, he had only sat on the prayer mat for an instant. The boundless feeling was a scene that appeared in his mind. Ao Jiao continued, No matter how well a spirit vein is maintained, as time passes, it will slowly weaken. I estimate the heavenly saber pavilion's spirit vein's origin is only 10 times larger than this spirit vein's origin. You came at the right time. The spirit vein's origin here is the limit of what your body can endure. This way, the risk of your body exploding is greatly reduced. Xiao Chen looked at the spirit vein's origin with a fiery gaze. He could not help but feel excited. After advancing to martial monarch, he had refined his essence into quintessence. Another door on the path of cultivation was about to open to him. Ao Jiao stretched out her hand and asked Xiao Chen for some superior grade spirit stones. She said with a calm expression, Although the risk has been greatly reduced, it is not without risk. Remember this, don't be greedy. Don't let power cloud your rationality. When I am done laying the spirit sealing formation, you can go and swallow the spirit vein's origin. Remember what I said, don't ever forget it. Xiao Chen nodded and said, Go ahead and lay the formation. Ao Jiao waved her right hand and a strong wind blew, clearing away the dense spiritual fog. Only the beautiful azure spirit vein's origin could be seen floating quietly in the air. Xiao! Xiao! Spirit stones flew out from Ao Jiao's hands. After she tossed out a total of 108 superior grade spirit stones, she started to form hand seals. Finally, she pointed at the spirit stones one by one. The spirit stones immediately gave off a faint glow. Lines shot out from them and linked all the spirit stones together. An extremely complicated formation immediately appeared above the spirit vein's origin. Each of the 18 corners of the formation shone with a dazzling brilliance, sealing a part of the world inside. Ao Jiao said softly, The spirit sealing formation is already laid. The spiritual energy in the spirit vein's origin will not leak out. Go ahead. Success or failure depended on this. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and floated up. He flew to the center of the formation and sat down cross-legged. The spirit sealing formation formed a formless plane in the air. Xiao Chen did not need to move it. He could make it float. That palm-sized rank 1 spirit vein's origin floated quietly above Xiao Chen's head. Boom! The instant he sat down, a surging river appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. The river was vast and mighty, as though it could destroy everything in the world. Xiao Chen's heart sank. He finally understood that what Ao Jiao said was true. The spiritual energy contained in this palm-sized spirit vein was at least 1/10 of the heavenly saber pavilion's spirit veins. Chapter 6:16. Maintaining his calm, Xiao Chen circulated the purple thunder divine incantation's 6th layer calmly. He slowly absorbed the surging spiritual energy from the spirit origin. As the river flowed, the crystalline chi whirlpool above his dantian quickly filled up. A strong energy spread throughout his body. In the time it took to breathe, Xiao Chen's cultivation soared rapidly. Normally, cultivating for 10 days to half a month would not even compare to one breath of time. This kind of instant increase in strength caused all the muscles in Xiao Chen's body to swell and his blood to surge. As his strength swelled, it put a lot of pressure on Xiao Chen's flesh and bones. The benefits of the firmament body tempering art's sixth layer manifested itself. Xiao Chen's muscles swelled and his blood vessels surged. However, it was still within his control. His skin did not burst from the swelling blood vessels. Cultivators had an innate desire for strength. When their strength increased, they would unconsciously feel an intense sense of excitement and satisfaction. As long as one was human, they would not be able to avoid it. Having excitement and satisfaction was not a bad thing. It could motivate cultivators to work harder. However, there was a limit to everything. Once there was too much, it would become a bad thing. At this moment, this excitement and satisfaction surged into Xiao Chen's mind 100-fold, 1,000-fold. It made him feel like his entire body was filled with energy, like it could increase endlessly. Faster! 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 Xiao Chen's heart roared loudly. His face flushed red, clearly excited. Ka-Xie. When Xiao Chen's spirit origin was drained by 2/3, the purple crystalline chi whirlpool in his body doubled in size. The bottleneck he had been waiting for finally arrived. However, that boundless energy continued to pour in endlessly. That sense of excitement filled Xiao Chen's mind. It seemed like he could still increase it slightly. It would be a pity to waste so much spiritual energy. Don't be greedy. Don't let power cloud your rationality. Just as this thought appeared in Xiao Chen's mind, Ao Jiao's words rang out in his mind. He immediately came to his senses and stopped circulating the purple thunder divine incantation. The spirit sealing formation was filled with spiritual energy. The mist was extremely dense, but it was locked by the light curtain around the base of the formation. Not a single bit of it leaked out. Ao Jiao's gaze pierced through the light screen. When she saw the remaining spirit veins origin above Xiao Chen's head, she heaved a sigh of relief. She smiled and said, "Since you managed to overcome the stage of desire in the ancient desolate tower, I knew that my stupid master would not be blinded by strength." The situation just now was extremely thrilling. If Xiao Chen didn't stop, his body would have been instantly burst by the skyrocketing spiritual energy, and he would have died without any chance of survival. The crystalline cyclone above his dantian had already swelled to its limit. Its spinning speed gradually slowed down, and in the end, it completely stopped moving. Xiao. The instant the crystal cyclone came to a stop, the mental power within his sea of wisdom abruptly surged. It flowed through the Tianmen acupoint on the top of his head to the main meridian in his dantian, and a powerful mental power flowed forth like a waterfall. The mental power started to refine the essence into quintessence. This was a very difficult stage for ordinary people. However, it was very easy for Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen had already opened his sea of consciousness long ago. His vast mental power was much stronger than his essence. Refining quintessence was very easy. As the mental power entered the crystal cyclone, it slowly melted. Dee-da, dee-da. A melodious sound rang out in Xiao Chen's body. A purple liquid that was purer and stronger than the solidified essence appeared above Xiao Chen's dantian drop by drop. After that, it flowed through all the meridians in Xiao Chen's body. When Xiao Chen felt the purer and denser energy, he rejoiced. He muttered to himself, "Is this quintessence?" Originally, with Xiao Chen's vast essence, the process of refining quintessence would take at least 2 months. However, his mental power was more than 100 times stronger than others. This time was greatly reduced. After 1 hour, all the essence had been refined into quintessence. The purple quintessence circulated in the main meridians and minor meridians for a great cycle before returning to the dantian and forming 99 drops of purple liquid. Bang! Xiao Chen opened his eyes. The instant he stopped, the strong energy in his body spread out uncontrollably. The entire ground started to tremble. The blue-robed old man on the ground searched for a long time but could not find the source of the strange spiritual energy. Just as he was about to leave, the mound behind him suddenly trembled. The blue-robed old man soared into the air, and cautiously sized up the unremarkable mound. Strong self-confidence flickered in Xiao Chen's eyes. He circulated a drop of purple quintessence, and casually sent out a strand of saber chi formed from quintessence. In that instant a long, pitch-black crack appeared in space. Sensing that the drop of quintessence was far from exhausted, Xiao Chen's right hand did not stop moving. He sent out 130 strands of saber chi in succession. The space in front of him was like a piece of cloth, shattering into pieces. Quintessence was quintessence. In the past, Xiao Chen had to use the Thunder Shadow Chop to shatter space. Now, he could tear space with a casual strike. I finally advanced to Martial Monarch. Unable to contain the excitement in his heart, Xiao Chen landed beside Ao Jiao with a so sound. He smiled and said, "Ao Jiao, I advanced to Martial Monarch." Ao Jiao was happy for Xiao Chen in her heart. However, she maintained a calm expression and said, "Go back first and stabilize your cultivation. You still cannot control your quintessence perfectly." The two of them returned the way they came. When the mound above them opened up again, a ferocious palm wind pressed down. "After waiting for so long, it turns out that it is you, little bastard, who caused this commotion. Quickly take out the treasures that you obtained." The blue-robed old man had a ferocious expression. Quintessence covered his palm as he sent a ferocious palm wind at Xiao Chen's head. When faced with the sudden appearance of the blue-robed old man, Xiao Chen was startled at first. After all, anyone who was not mentally prepared would be shocked when suddenly attacked. After a while, Xiao Chen smiled gently. He had just advanced to Martial Monarch and had not had the time to test out his strength. The blue-robed old man had arrived at the right time. With a thought, the 3 drops of purple liquid in his dantian instantly poured into his meridians and turned into surging quintessence. Then, Xiao Chen sent out a punch. Bang! When the fist and palm met, a strong shock wave exploded out. In that instant, the 2 halves of the mound were shattered by the quintessence from the 2, kicking up a cloud of dust. Hu Qi! Hu Qi! The energy from Xiao Chen's fist was boundless and shockingly pure. The blue-robed old man was knocked back several dozen steps in the air before he could stabilize himself. When the blue-robed old man saw the light flickering on Xiao Chen's fist, he said in astonishment, "This is quintessence. How did you advance to Martial Monarch in just half a day?" The blue-robed old man could not be blamed for being astonished. When a regular cultivator reached the bottleneck of half-step Martial Monarch, they would open their sea of consciousness. Then, they would cultivate their mental energy and refine their essence. Only when they finished refining their essence would they be considered Martial Monarch. Cultivators with strong talent for mental energy would need at least 3 months to do this. Those with weak talent for mental energy would need at least 2 or 3 years. Very few people could be like Xiao Chen. From the very start, his cultivation technique tempered his mental energy. Furthermore, he managed to open his sea of consciousness when he was a martial king. Mental energy was much stronger than essence. Even though Xiao Chen had reached the bottleneck of half-step Martial Monarch, his mental energy was still stronger than his essence. Hence, the speed at which he refined quintessence was astonishingly fast. Xiao Chen said calmly, "There is no need for a person who is about to die to know so much. Earlier, you gave me a palm strike. Now, I will return the favor with a fist strike." However, the blue-robed old man laughed loudly. "So what if you advance to Martial Monarch? I became a Martial Monarch 10 years ago. My control of quintessence is incomparable to yours. This place is where the imperial capital of the Tianwu dynasty used to be. You must have obtained some miraculous medicinal pill. Otherwise, you would not have advanced to Martial Monarch so quickly. You just consumed the medicinal pill. Your body will not be able to digest it completely. After I capture you, I will extract your blood, skin you, and refine you again. My cultivation will definitely reach peak inferior grade Martial Monarch." Chi. Chi. Right after the blue-robed old man spoke, a faint blue quintessence appeared on his body. As the extreme Yin flame burned, the quintessence turned into a pale white halo that surrounded him. His aura soared as he prepared to take down Xiao Chen in one move. Mountain pushing palm. After the blue-robed old man burned his quintessence, he sent out a palm strike. The air flowed in reverse. The force of his palm strike seemed to push the entire space. A strong pressure pressed down on Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen felt a slight pain in his bones, flesh, and skin. A regular cultivator would have been crushed into a meat patty before the palm strike arrived. Xiao Chen circulated his vital qi, and his strong physical body immediately became as hard as frost iron. He stood there like a mountain, allowing the wind to press down on him without moving. When the other party's palm strike was about 100 meters away, Xiao Chen circulated all 99 drops of purple liquid in his body. He finally made his move. He instantly drew the lunar shadow saber, giving off a dazzling light. Thunder Shadow Chop. Xiao Chen's aura flourished as he took 7 steps forward. With each step, he swung his saber. The quintessence on the saber surged, and every saber strike easily tore a tear in space. When he finished taking 7 steps, his aura reached its peak. The 7 afterimages merged and Xiao Chen swung his saber. The immortal state of thunder made the electric light on the saber eternal and inextinguishable. Furthermore, it worked with his 60% comprehended saber intent. The might of this saber strike was unimaginably great. The electric light exploded and broke through the blue-robed old man's palm strike. Xiao Chen searched for an opening and pressed his saber forward. The other party's protective quintessence blocked for a while before it broke. Pu Ci. The quintessence contained in the saber light knocked the blue-robed old man back a kilometer. It left a bloody wound on his chest. It was so deep that bones could be seen. The purple quintessence was like a berserk bolt of lightning as it surged through the old man's body. It shattered the quintessence coming out of the other party's dantian. It was simply unblockable. The blue-robed old man vomited a mouthful of blood. He paled as he looked at Xiao Chen in horror. He muttered, "That's impossible. You just advanced to martial monarch. How is it that even after I burned my quintessence, I still cannot block your quintessence?" A heaven-ranked cultivation technique. He must be cultivating a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. Otherwise, he would not have such strong quintessence after advancing. When the blue-robed old man thought of this possibility, he no longer hesitated. He turned around and fled. The other party possessed a heaven-ranked cultivation technique and was an absolute genius. After he advanced to martial monarch, even inferior-grade martial monarchs would not be a match for him. The first rank of the true dragon ranking could not be judged with common sense. Xiao Chen continued flying. As Xiao Chen watched the blue-robed old man flee, he sheathed his saber and stood still. He was not in a rush to give chase. The quintessence in his body surged, and dragon roars came from his abdomen. A strong wind howled and boundless shock waves spread out. Chapter 6:17. Blue Dragon Tail Whip. Xiao Chen shouted, and an ancient blue dragon appeared under his feet. The blue dragon tail swung gently, and an overwhelming force surged out. The blue dragon tail whip sent Xiao Chen's body flying in a long arc in the air, disappearing in an instant. Xiao Chen had cultivated the blue dragon cloud soaring art to small perfection long ago. However, he had always been limited by his cultivation, unable to bring out the true might of this heaven-ranked movement technique. Now that Xiao Chen had advanced to martial monarch, his quintessence surged. When the blue dragon tail whip was executed, its aura was extremely horrifying. A strong wind blew, and it arrived at the blue-robed old man's side. Spring Thunder Chop Die. Accompanying the strong wind was the first move of Xiao Chen's four-season saber technique. Spring thunder roared in the sky. Xiao Chen used his quintessence to drive the cycle of seasons. When the saber chopped down, it gave off an unparalleled sharpness. The blue-robed old man felt a chill in his heart. Extreme flame, explode. The blue-robed old man knew he was no match for this unparalleled saber light. A pale white flame appeared in his palm. A white light as resplendent and dazzling as a star appeared in the center of the flame. This was the origin flame that the blue-robed old man had refined for decades. At the moment of life and death, he planned to explode this origin flame to buy time to escape. Who? The star-like origin flame flickered with light continuously. A horrifying energy spread out from it. Xiao Chen's face sank. That origin heart was already the size of a chicken egg. If it exploded, the power it would create would be terrifying. At such a close distance, Xiao Chen would definitely be injured. However, if he retreated, it would be difficult for him to catch up to the blue-robed old man. This person was a martial monarch. Furthermore, he was certain that Xiao Chen killed his son. Even if Xiao Chen was not afraid, he would still hurt his friends and family. If the other party became ruthless and hurt his friends and family, then it would be too late for regrets. This person must not be allowed to live. He had to stabilize this extreme flame first. After making up his mind, Xiao Chen quickly sheathed his saber and dissipated the force of this spring thunder chop. However, because he had just advanced to martial monarch, he had not reached the level where he could control his quintessence as he pleased. Some of his quintessence leaked out unavoidably, digging deep holes in the ground. Extreme flames, go! He casually tore off the blue strip of cloth in front of his forehead, and an even paler flame floated out from between his eyebrows. In the center of the flame, there was also a speck of white light that was as bright as a star. It was the lunar flame's origin core. It was only the size of a grain of rice, but when it flew out and collided with the egg-sized origin core, the extreme flame, which had been extremely restless and violent and was about to explode at any moment, instantly calmed down. The rice grain-sized origin flame ignored the origin flame, which was countless times larger than it, and climbed up to devour it greedily. The lunar flame was the flame of the highest grade among the attributed flames. No matter how much the extreme flame resisted, it would only be swallowed up. Xiao Chen didn't even look at them. He leaped over the two tangled flames and continued chasing after the blue-robed old man. Damn it! How did he catch up to us again? The blue-robed old man's face was ashen and he sped up once more. Blue dragon tail whip. No matter how fast he was, it was impossible for him to escape from Xiao Chen, who had unleashed the true might of the blue dragon cloud soaring art. Spring thunder chop. Burning to desolation. Xiao Chen caught up to the blue-robed old man. This time, he did not give the blue-robed old man a chance to use his trump card. He executed both the spring and summer sabers consecutively. He used his quintessence to drive the power of the cycle of seasons. Heaven and earth trembled violently. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber. With these two sabers, the blue-robed old man's body turned into a pool of blood, his bones shattered. Amid the blood rain, a spatial ring flickering with a dim light appeared. Xiao Chen casually waved his hand, and the spatial ring flew over. Then, he tossed it into his universe ring and ignored it. Xiao Chen looked around and saw saber chi made of purple quintessence filling the air. They pierced thousands of holes in space, leaving pitch-black holes in it. Xiao Chen frowned slightly and said, "I just advanced to inferior grade martial monarch. I need to spend more time to control my quintessence. Otherwise, it will be very troublesome to fight a medial grade martial monarch like this." Xiao Chen calmly summarized the earlier battle. He did not feel any pride from defeating an inferior grade martial monarch. He was a king grade true dragon. He would not be inferior to anyone of the same cultivation. After cultivating a heaven-ranked cultivation technique and advancing to martial monarch by swallowing a spirit vein's origin, it would be strange if he could not deal with an ordinary inferior grade martial monarch. Boom! 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 At the same time, an intense battle took place in the lava in the distance. all sorts of explosions resounded without end. The lava did not have surging heat waves or boundless smoke. On the contrary, it was dark and gloomy, filled with a cold chi. It was incredibly gloomy, looking very strange. A green flower bloomed in the center of the lava. Its petals were jade green and crystalline. A gloomy green flame in the center of the flower gave off a dazzling light and a boundless chill. Needless to say, this green flame was the netherworld flame seed. There were 2 10-meter-tall black fire spirits in front of the petals. The black fire spirits were different from regular fire spirit. They already had eyes, a mouth, and a nose on their faces. Their eyes flickered with light. Clearly, they had some intelligence. There was also a layer of black cuticle on the surface of their bodies, looking like solid, natural armor. The people of the Holy Fire Manor fought the 2 netherworld fire spirits intensely. The gray-robed old man faced 1 netherworld fire spirit alone. The remaining half-step martial monarchs and peak martial kings of the Holy Fire Manor worked together to deal with the other. Based on the situation of the 2 sides, one could easily see the huge difference between a half-step martial monarch and a martial monarch. The gray-robed old man faced the netherworld fire spirit alone. Not only did he not lose, but he even held the upper hand. After another few hundred moves, the netherworld fire spirit would definitely lose. On the other hand, the group of 100 people, with 10 half-step martial monarchs, could only barely block the attacks of the netherworld fire spirit. They could only wait for the gray-robed old man to finish and come over to help. I wonder how long Big Brother will be gone for. If he were here, we would have been able to take away the netherworld flame seed long ago, the gray-robed old man thought to himself. However, he was not worried about the blue-robed old man's safety. Given his understanding of the blue-robed old man's strength, even if the blue-robed old man met a troublesome demonic beast, he should be able to escape easily. After Shao Chun dealt with his opponent, he returned to where the extreme Yin flame and the lunar true flame were fighting. As the lunar true flame swallowed the extreme Yin flame's origin flame, it had shrunk significantly. However, it continued to resist tenaciously. The lunar true flame's origin flame was still too weak. If the blue-robed old man were still here, the extreme Yin flame might have been able to devour the lunar true flame under his control. However, the blue-robed old man was already dead, and Shao Chun had rushed back. No matter how the extreme Yin flame resisted, it could not avoid its fate of being devoured. Shao Chun's gaze sank slightly. He extended out his spiritual sense and took the initiative to control the lunar true flame. Chi. One had a master and the other had no master. The lunar true flame swallowed the lunar true flame at a much faster rate. Time slowly went by. After 1 hour, the last strand of light of the extreme Yin flame faded away. Shao Chun's lunar true flame finally swallowed it all. Heaving a sigh of relief, Shao Chun said softly, actively swallowing it like this really exhausted a lot of mental energy. However, the result is still satisfactory. The lunar true flame's origin flame in the air in front of Shao Chun had already expanded from its original size of a grain of rice to the size of a pearl. Shao Chun pointed casually, and the palm-sized lunar true flame crashed into a stone pillar. Pu-ci. The stone pillar silently burned into a pile of rubble. The destructive power of the lunar true flame was a stark contrast to the berserk purple thunder true fire. Shao Chun entered deep thought. Now that the lunar true flame already possessed some combat prowess, it would be very inconvenient to fight with it in the sea of consciousness. I already have the purple thunder true fire in my right eye. I'll put this lunar true flame in my left eye then. Shio! A light flashed, and the lunar true flame, together with the lunar true flame's origin flame, entered his left eye. Shao Chun closed his eyes and familiarized himself with the lunar true flame in his left eye. After a while, Shao Chun opened his eyes. A purple light spread out from his right eye, and a fierce flame burned endlessly. His left eye flickered with a white light and a cold chi spread out. It looked much weaker than his right eye. With a thought, the mysterious phenomenon in his eyes disappeared. Shao Chen muttered, "If I want to execute the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram in the stage of desire, I need to achieve a balance between yin and yang. The lunar true flame is still too weak. Even if the might of the purple thunder true fire is reduced by half, it will not achieve a balance between yin and yang." Boom! At this moment, a muffled explosion resounded at the end of their line of sight. At the end of their line of sight, a cold flame soared into the sky, illuminating the dark underground space with a deathly white light. It should be another martial monarch of the Holy Fire Manor preparing to retrieve the Netherworld Flame Seed. Let's go and take a look. Circulating the blue dragon cloud soaring art, Shao Chun immediately soared into the air. Quintessence circulated in his body, and dragon roars came from his body. An indistinct blue dragon appeared under Shao Chen's feet. Carrying Shao Chen's feet did not touch the ground as he moved up and down. His speed reached Mach 5. Shao Chen's body tore through space, creating a long shock wave behind him. It was like two formless waves moving up and down. In less than 10 minutes, Shao Chen arrived at the scene of the commotion. A vast expanse of lava filled his vision. Under the gray-robed old man's lead, the Holy Fire Manor's people attacked the final Netherworld Fire Spirit in an orderly fashion. Under the gray-robed old man's strong attacks, the Netherworld Fire Spirit was forced back. The morale of the Holy Fire Manor's people soared, and they were filled with vigor. On a mound, Shao Chen's white robes fluttered as he looked at everything in front of him. Looking up, Shao Chen saw the green flower petals behind the Netherworld Fire Spirit. There was a clump of green flame in the flower petals, giving off a boundless cold light. That is the Netherworld flower. However, the Netherworld flame seed does not seem to have matured yet. The Holy Fire Manor's people were too anxious. Back then, the mature flame seed that the Thunder King took away was orange, Ao Jiao said softly from the lunar shadow saber. Shao Chen felt somewhat disappointed. An immature flame seed was like an unripe fruit. No matter how precious it was, its value would be greatly reduced. Let's go. There is no need to remain here. The flame seed had not matured yet, so Shao Chen lost interest in fighting for it. He gave the blooming Netherworld flower one last glance before turning to leave. Wait a moment. If the immature flame seed is taken away, the Netherworld flower will immediately wither. From then on, there will no longer be a Netherworld flame. Rather than letting these people waste it, you might as well uproot the Netherworld flower and preserve the flame seed temporarily. Chapter 6:18. Shao Chun stopped and muttered, "However, without the nourishment of Yin energy, even if I uproot it, this Netherworld flower will wither soon." Ao Jiao smiled and said, "It's fine. Just store all the land in the universe ring. This Netherworld flower should be able to survive for about a year. When you go to the Kunlun realm, there is an immortal spirit ring for storing natural treasures. If you place this Netherworld flower in there, it will continue to grow. Furthermore, it looks like the Netherworld flower will mature soon. The Holy Fire Manor's people probably do not know much about the Netherworld flower. That's why they were so rash." Shao Chun had always done things in a straightforward manner, swift and decisive. If there was no value, he would leave immediately. If there was value in preserving it, the moment Ao Jiao spoke, he took action. A dragon roar came from Shao Chen's body, and an indistinct blue dragon appeared under his feet. In that instant, he leaped over everyone's heads and landed beside the Netherworld flower. Boom! When the Holy Fire Manor's people, who had just defeated the last Netherworld fire spirit, saw Shao Chun suddenly appear, they were all startled. Their faces filled with rage. The gray-robed old man looked at Shao Chen, who had his back to them. His heart immediately sank as he stared at Shao Chen. The quintessence in his body surged, causing the gray-robed old man's clothes to flutter. The surrounding people all felt a significant pressure. "Who are you? Why are you snatching my Holy Fire Manor's Netherworld flame seed?" The gray-robed old man's aura pressed down on Xiao Qin like a strong wind. His pupils constricted, and a murderous intent spread out. He clenched his right fist tightly, preparing to attack at any moment. Xiao Qian's back faced the crowd. Under the pressure of the gray-robed old man's aura, he remained calm and collected. He said softly, "The netherworld flower is nurtured by nature. How can it be your holy fire manners? I want the flame seed. You all can go." Ha! What a nurtured by nature! What my holy fire manner saw naturally belongs to my holy fire manner. How is it your holy fire manner's turn to speak? You can stay as well. The gray-robed old man sneered. The aura that he had been accumulating for a long time suddenly erupted, and the shock wave caused dust to fill the sky. Stomping heavily on the ground, the gray-robed old man soared into the sky like a ferocious tiger, throwing a punch at Xiao Qin. The wind howled and quintessence covered his fist, giving off a faint glow. Hearing the sound of the wind, Xiao Qin turned around and faced the ferocious punch. Unfazed, Zhang Xian clenched his fist and drove half of the Jinqi in his body before sending a punch of his own. Bang! When the two fists collided, Xiao Qin did not move at all. On the other hand, the gray-robed old man, who rushed over like a ferocious tiger, flew back. The aura in his body turned chaotic, and he felt his arm go slightly numb. He looked at Xiao Qin with a strange expression. He clearly felt that Xiao Qin had just advanced to martial monarch. However, the surging quintessence far surpassed his. "It's you, white-robed bladesman Xiao Qin. I have seen the true dragon rankings name list before. It really is him, the first rank of this true dragon ranking. Furthermore, he is a king-grade true dragon genius. Even the geniuses of the 10 great sects and 8 noble clans lost to him. Isn't he only a half-step martial monarch? How did he advance to martial monarch in less than a month?" When the gray-robed old man saw Xiao Qian's appearance, his expression changed drastically. The holy fire manners people behind him also started discussing this matter. The gray-robed old man's expression sank completely. He said, "I only used 60% of my strength earlier. If you think you can defeat me with that, you are too naive." The gray-robed old man shouted and circulated all the quintessence in his body. Then, he instantly burned it with an extreme flame. A blazing quintessence flame appeared on his body. The gray-robed old man's aura rose to peak inferior-grade martial monarch, forcing the surrounding cultivators to take a few steps back. That oppressive aura was not something they could endure. Tiger roaring mountains and rivers. A huge ferocious tiger image materialized behind the gray-robed old man as he charged over again. He circulated all 99 drops of quintessence in his body and circulated his vital qi as well. Quintessence and vital qi merged as Xiao Qin executed the first move of the Dragon Claw Fist, Berserk Dragon. A realistic dragon head appeared on Xiao Qin's fist. The Berserk Dragon roared ferociously as it punched. Boom! The tiger and dragon clashed, roaring continuously. The instant the fists clashed, the tiger image behind the gray-robed old man crumbled. He vomited a mouthful of blood and went flying back. "I never said that I would use my full power." Xiao Qin leaped forward and executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art. A blue dragon image flickered under his feet. In a breath, he caught up to the gray-robed old man. Berserk Dragon Claw. Xiao Qin formed his left hand into a claw and swung it back. 5 azure-colored claw marks appeared and knocked the gray-robed old man back again. A dragon roar resounded in Xiao Qin's chest. He brought out his small perfection blue dragon cloud soaring art to its limits. Xiao Qin stood on the blue dragon image and moved up and down in midair, alternating between punches and claws. Bang! 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 At first, the gray-robed old man could still keep up with Xiao Qin's rhythm. After exchanging a few moves, he slowly fell into a passive state, getting beaten up. Quintessence exploded on the gray-robed old man's body. The sound of bones breaking rang out continuously. The fists and claws did not stop. In midair, Shao Chun sent the old man flying like a sandbag. He only stopped after flying for 1,000 meters. The group of Holy Fire Manor's elders and elite members were all dumbfounded. They could not believe what they saw. Normally, the second Manor Lord was an undefeatable existence in their eyes. Unexpectedly, he was beaten up by a youth to the point where he could not retaliate. It was extremely tragic. A king-grade true dragon genius is not something we can imagine. He is already so powerful when he just advanced to martial monarch. Indeed, the second Manor Lord has already advanced to martial monarch for almost 5 years. However, he could not retaliate at all. This operation is probably going to fail. Even if the first Manor Lord comes, he will not be a match for him. Berserk Dragon Break! Shao Qin roared ferociously. The azure dragon head on his right hand and the dragon claw on his left merged, forming a complete blue dragon. Then, it soared towards the gray-robed old man. Bang! The gray-robed old man, who had just gotten up, vomited a large mouthful of blood. He could no longer get up. The surrounding Holy Fire Manor cultivators were all frightened. No one dared to make a sound. No one dared to go over and help. The strength that Shao Chun displayed was not something that people of their level could interfere with. The gray-robed old man was severely injured. When he saw Shao Chun walking over, he said hatefully, "The first Manor Lord will be rushing over soon. White-robed brat, you will not be able to escape death in the end." Shao Chun said softly, "Sorry to disappoint you. He will never be coming." "You killed him!" The gray-robed old man exclaimed in extreme shock, his final hope dashed. "Xiao." Shao Chun did not answer the gray-robed old man's question. He casually flicked a strand of purple flame through the gray-robed old man's forehead and took away his spatial ring. Just as Shao Chun was about to leave, he discovered a pale white flame coming out of the gray-robed old man's corpse. There was an origin flame the size of half a chicken egg in the flame. Shao Chun was slightly stunned. He said, "This is a pleasant surprise." The lunar true flame surged out from Shao Chun's left eye. After it swallowed up the origin flame, the lunar true flame's origin flame expanded once again. The lunar flame, which had been extremely weak all this while, finally had some killing power. After Shao Chun finished doing all this, he turned around and discovered that the other elders of the Holy Fire Manor and the many martial king elites had all scattered, disappearing without a trace. Shao Chun could not be bothered with you. He gently waved his right hand, and the lunar shadow saber appeared in his grasp. Then, he slowly floated above the netherworld flower. Shao Chun lowered his head and looked at the lava below. Then, he looked around and felt confident. Shao Chun drew the lunar shadow saber and swung it at the ground 4 times. 4 strands of purple saber chi shot out from the saber's edge. Ka-cha! Ka-cha! 4 cracks connected to each other appeared on the ground. It was like a piece of tofu. Shao Chun's saber chi carved out a perfect square. The netherworld flower bloomed quietly in the center. "Rise!" Shao Chun leaped down and smacked the ground heavily with his palm. The ground trembled violently. The square piece of land separated by the crack slowly rose up under the force of this palm. After it rose to a height of 100 meters, Shao Chun circulated all the quintessence in his body and chopped it in half. Shao Chun separated the huge piece of lava, which contained the netherworld flower, just like that. A dim light flashed in the universe ring. Shao Chun moved the piece of lava into the universe ring. "I'll leave from above. I just advanced to martial monarch. I have to find a place to familiarize myself with my current strength." After Shao Chun did all this, he looked up at the rock a kilometer above him. He could feel that the rock was not particularly hard. Shao Chun pushed off the ground and leaped up. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched upward. A hole immediately appeared in the rock. Boom! After an unknown period of time, Xiao Chen punched a hole in the mountain range at the bottom of the lake. Then, he reappeared in the lake. After a while, he was like a flood dragon coming out of the water. He kicked up huge waves and the fresh air that he had not experienced in a long time blew over. After flying around, Xiao Chen found an uninhabited island. He immediately landed and took out the spatial rings of the two martial monarchs. There was some anticipation in his eyes as he smiled faintly. The spatial rings of martial monarchs should not be too poor. I hope there will be some gains. First, Xiao Chen opened the spatial ring of the gray-robed old man. Then, he looked around and immediately discovered more than 5,000 superior-grade spirit stones filled with spiritual energy. What Xiao Chen lacked now were superior-grade spirit stones. Naturally, he accepted them without standing on ceremony. There were very few superior-grade spirit stones. However, there were a frightening number of medial-grade spirit stones, a total of 3 million. However, when Xiao Chen thought about it, it made sense. There were only a few rank 4 spirit veins that could produce superior-grade spirit stones in the Tianwu continent. It was easy to imagine how many superior-grade spirit stones they produced every year. On the other hand, there were many rank 3 spirit veins that produced medial-grade spirit stones in the Tianwu continent. Given the gray-robed old man's status, it was not strange for him to obtain such a large number of medial-grade spirit stones. As for the miscellaneous items, such as a few inferior-grade secret treasures and some Earth-rank spirit weapons, Xiao Chen did not have much interest in them. He casually tossed them aside. After that, Xiao Chen opened the spatial ring of the blue-robed old man. As the first manor lord of the Holy Fire Manor, he should have more wealth than the gray-robed old man. Indeed, after Xiao Chen opened the spatial ring, he counted the number of superior-grade spirit stones. There were more than 10,000 medial-grade spirit stones. There were even more medial-grade spirit stones, a total of 5 million. In total, Xiao Chen had a total of 8 million medial-grade spirit stones. Chapter 619. Unfortunately, now that Xiao Chen had advanced to martial monarch, he could only use so many medial-grade spirit stones as currency. They were of no use to him. Martial monarchs could only cultivate with superior-grade spirit stones. The effects of medial-grade spirit stones were almost negligible. Everyone knew this principle. However, there were very few martial monarchs in the Tianwu continent who could use superior-grade spirit stones to cultivate every day. This was because superior-grade spirit stones were too rare in the Sky Dome realm. Regular martial monarchs could only use superior-grade spirit stones once in a while. They could only use medial-grade spirit stones to cultivate. This was the case for the gray-robed old man and the blue-robed old man. Otherwise, they would have exhausted all the superior-grade spirit stones in their rings long ago. Xiao Chen gained a deeper understanding of what old Feng said about the Tianwu continent not being able to support so many geniuses. At this moment, Xiao Chen understood that if he wanted to maintain his previous cultivation speed, he had to go to the Kunlun realm. Remaining in the Sky Dome realm would only be a waste of his talent. Collecting his thoughts, Xiao Chen shifted his gaze to the netherworld flower in the universe ring. This was his greatest gain on this trip. If the lunar true flame consumed the netherworld flame seed after it matured, the lunar true flame's origin flame would definitely improve rapidly. The pile of lava in the universe ring occupied half the space. He could see the netherworld flower's core withering at an extremely slow pace. If I cannot find an immortal spirit ring in 1 year, this netherworld flower will probably die, Xiao Chen muttered as he withdrew his gaze. Ao Jiao smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry. Although an immortal spirit ring is precious, unless it is a peak immortal spirit ring, you will definitely be able to handle it." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not bother with this matter. He looked around and found a suitable empty space to start cultivating in. There was a huge difference between quintessence and essence. The former was more than 100 times stronger. This was the first time Xiao Chen grasped such a strong force. He needed to cultivate for a while before he could control it perfectly. Otherwise, when he fought, his quintessence would leak out uncontrollably, and he would not be able to control it properly. There were also some martial techniques that he could bring out after advancing to martial monarch, such as the blue dragon cloud soaring art, the dragon subduing slash, and the battle sage's origin strength character formula. He needed to comprehend these properly before he could execute them as he wished. The sun rose and set, one day at a time. Shao Chun cultivated alone on the desolate island. Shao Chun slowly familiarized himself with his control of quintessence. The might of the small perfection azure dragon cloud soaring art reached perfection. He could already use the first move of the dragon subduing slash. His quintessence to himself. And King Chen's much more. Chen's sovereign Chen's sstion. The Chen's many Chen could to the King now that the much to spirit King. Chen's many to Chun that. He, King many spirit, he that he spirit that Chen's Chun to spirit had now. Many with kings. The sequelae of the dragon subduing slash's 4-season saber technique were much better than before. When Shao Chen used his quintessence, his might was several times stronger than before. When Shao Chen used his quintessence, the peak Earth-ranked 4-season saber technique's 4-season saber technique increased the various mysterious phenomena of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. The most powerful was the battle sage's origin strength character formula. Once he used it, it could increase the combat prowess of any martial technique by 33 times. However, the quintessence that it exhausted was too heaven-defying. Even the vast 99 drops of quintessence in Shao Chen's body were insufficient. Shao Chen used it once, and it even overdrew on his body. Furthermore, this was only for an ordinary martial technique. If he used it on the dragon subduing slash, it would suck out all his flesh. No wonder Ao Jiao said that no one under martial monarch would be able to execute the strength character formula. The quintessence required was simply too horrifying. It could only be used as a trump card. After Shao Chun advanced to martial monarch, all the accumulations that he had accumulated before becoming a martial monarch erupted out tenfold or even 100-fold. With Shao Chen's current strength, he could truly be called a king-grade true dragon genius. He was unrivaled within the same cultivation realm, a king among martial monarchs. Shao Chen could casually squish a regular inferior-grade martial monarch to death. He would need to put in some effort to deal with a medial-grade martial monarch. If he ran into a peak medial-grade martial monarch, his chances of victory were at least 70%. He might even be able to hold his own against a superior-grade martial monarch. Of course, this only referred to the martial monarchs of the Tianwu continent. As for the situation in the Kunlun realm, Shao Chen did not know, so he could not comment on it. When facing the geniuses of the other 3,000 great realms, the situation might be different. Their accumulations and talent might not be weaker than his. Furthermore, the situation would be unpredictable for the native geniuses of the Kunlun realm. Hence, Shao Chen did not feel arrogant or complacent about his current strength. He still had a long way to go. This was just the beginning. On this particular day, Shao Chen woke up from his cultivation. He casually tossed aside the 2 exhausted superior-grade spirit stones and opened his eyes. A purple flame burned in his right eye, burning endlessly. A white light flickered in his left eye, giving off an overwhelming cold chi. In the depths of his eyes, there was a speck of purple light and a speck of white light. They gave off a light that was even more dazzling than the stars. For the past few days, Shao Chen had been trying to recall how he executed the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram in the space of desire. Now, he finally had some ideas. So, he decided to execute it and test it out. Xiao! The purple origin flame in his right eye flew out first. For the sake of maintaining balance, Shao Chen only drew out a portion of the purple thunder true fire's origin flame. After that, the lunar true fire's origin flame also flew out. It stood side by side with the purple origin flame in the air, separated by about 1 centimeter. Even though only half of the lunar true fire's origin flame was gone, it was still larger than the lunar true fire's. However, the lunar true fire's grade was higher than the purple thunder true fire's. If it could reach the size of the purple thunder true fire's origin flame, its might would definitely surpass the lunar true fire's. The extreme of yin was the lunar true fire, and the extreme of yang was the solar true fire. Only the solar true fire could match the lunar true fire. Although the purple thunder true fire was the purest of yang, it was still inferior in grade. The solar true fire was too far away. It was not something that Shao Chen could think about for now. So, he looked at the 2 clumps of origin flame in front. Shao Chen started to carefully test the might of the two. He had to achieve an absolute balance. Yin and yang intersected. Neither was stronger than the other. They could not reach a state where yin and yang could not coexist. Bang! 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 The purple flame and white flame crashed into the ground repeatedly. Shao Chen patiently checked the destructive power of the two. Repeating this, Shao Chen increased and decreased the purple origin flame's power. After thousands of tests, he finally confirmed that the two reached the absolute balance that he wanted. At this moment, the sky had already turned dark. The night sky was dark and the sun could not be seen. Only 2 clumps of light could be seen in the pitch-black night sky. Yin and yang, move! Shao Chen shouted. His spiritual sense controlled the 2 clumps of origin flame, and they moved quickly between the 2 clumps of light. One purple and one white, the 2 clumps of light chased each other like fishes. However, there seemed to be an invisible curve between the two, separating them. Even if they chased each other for 10,000 years, neither would catch up to the other. Shao Chen's face lit up in joy. Slowly, he found a feeling. Everything that he experienced in the space of desire appeared in his mind, guiding him on what to do next. Yin and yang merge. Shao Chen shouted again, and a ring appeared around the 2 chasing fishes, tightly encircling them. Finally, a Taiji diagram appeared. Shao Chen smiled faintly and felt even more at ease. His sea of consciousness surged as he infused even more mental energy into it. Boom! Yin-yang, the 4 divisions, and the 8 trigrams appeared around the ring. 2 gentle tornadoes appeared around Shao Chen, chasing each other and rushing into the clouds. Yin and yang break. The Taiji yin-yang flame diagram finally took shape. Shao Chen shouted and pointed at the mountain in front. The Taiji yin-yang flame diagram flew over. The Taiji diagram moved quickly and pressed down on the mountain. Bang! 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 The mountain exploded from top to bottom. When the entire Taiji yin-yang flame diagram landed on the ground, it completely flattened the mountain. Boundless dust quickly scattered in all directions. Joy flashed in Shao Chen's eyes. The might of the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram far surpassed his expectations. Although it could not achieve the effect of severely injuring a peak martial monarch in the space of desire, the current Taiji yin-yang flame diagram still had a lot of room for improvement. If the purple thunder true fire and lunar true flame improved further one day, killing a peak martial monarch might not be a dream. Withdraw. Shao Chen gently waved his right hand, and the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram on the ground returned to Shao Chen with a xiao sound. The purple and white origin flames swam around happily. The 8 trigrams and 4 divisions appeared around the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram. As the light circulated, the mental energy in Shao Chen's sea of consciousness drained quickly. Aside from the energy of the 2 flames, the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram drained mental energy as well. However, it was still within Shao Chen's limits. With his surging mental energy, he should be able to execute this Taiji yin-yang flame diagram 10 times in one day with ease. Shao Chen, why does your Taiji yin-yang flame diagram have the shadow of an immortal technique in it? Ao Jiao, who was in the lunar shadow saber, asked doubtfully. Shao Chen raised his eyebrows and asked, Why do you say so? Ao Jiao replied, disregarding the martial techniques of the few body-tempering cultivators, the creation of any martial technique uses quintessence as a foundation. Only immortal techniques use mental energy as a foundation. Of course, the mental energy of immortal cultivators is refined. They call it magic energy. A thought occurred to Xiao Chen. He recalled what Ling Yu had said about immortal technique. He asked, Ao Jiao, are there people in the Kunlun realm who cultivate immortal techniques? There are, but there are very few of them. Immortal techniques are a cultivation system from the previous epoch. After the destruction of the previous epoch, the laws of heaven and earth changed. It is no longer suitable for cultivating immortal technique. The complete cultivation system for immortal techniques has already lost its inheritance long ago. Now, the cultivation system reigns supreme over the martial Tao. Furthermore, immortal techniques are not something that just anyone can cultivate. They are very profound and depend on one's immortal affinity. Since Xiao Chen asked, Ao Jiao told him what she knew. However, what she knew was limited, and Xiao Chen did not learn anything useful. However, there are many immortal sect remnants in the Kunlun realm. I think you are someone with an immortal affinity. You might be able to gain something if you go there. Xiao Chen smiled embarrassedly and avoided this topic. He said, Ao Jiao, come out and help me test the defense of this Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. See how strong it is. Compared to the offensive capabilities of the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram, Xiao Chen valued its defense more. Although his physical body was strong, he lacked a strong defensive martial technique. Chapter 620. Ao Jiao flew out of the lunar shadow saber and looked at the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram in front of Xiao Chen. She said interestedly, I am now as strong as a peak martial monarch. How much of my strength are you going to use? Xiao Chen muttered, use half first. A peak martial monarch, that kind of person had refined their quintessence to the limit. Xiao Chen could not underestimate them, nor did he dare to be careless. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, Ao Jiao charged over. Her petite figure flickered in the air and punched the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. Bang! The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram gave off a bright light. Shock waves surged out, kicking up a strong wind in all directions. Amid the light, Ao Jiao somersaulted 3 times in the air before she managed to dissipate the force of the rebound. When Xiao Chen saw the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram glowing brightly with the 8 trigrams and 4 divisions, a look of astonishment flashed in her eyes. Her playful attitude from earlier diminished significantly. Xiao Chen felt somewhat dizzy. After enduring half of Ao Jiao's strength, only half of the mental energy in his sea of consciousness remained. Use your full power, Xiao Chen said with a grave expression as he clenched his teeth. Ao Jiao nodded, and her aura soared for some reason. She was clearly petite and cute, but she gave off a vast and majestic aura. This time, Xiao Chen's eyes did not capture Ao Jiao's figure. Her attack landed on the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. Boom! The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram exploded with light. The 8 trigrams and 4 divisions shattered one after another. Blood leaked out of the corner of Xiao Chen's mouth. The shock wave from the fist force knocked him back 8 steps before he could stabilize himself. Xiao Chen's qi and blood surged, and his internal organs trembled. However, he revealed a joyful smile. I succeeded. Peak martial monarch, only half a step away from martial sage. This was the cultivation of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Shin Manjun. A newly advanced martial monarch was able to block the full power strike of a peak martial monarch and suffer only minor injuries. No one would believe this. Ao Jiao, who was in the air, had an unsightly expression. The instant the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram exploded, the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram exploded. The force of the rebound was doubled, which was equivalent to her taking on twice the force of the punch alone. Xiao Chen hurried over and asked, Are you all right? Ao Jiao regulated her breathing for a while and smiled. She said, "It's fine. If you had endured an attack twice as strong, you would have died for sure. The endurance of a peak martial monarch is greater than you think. So, if you meet a peak martial monarch, even if the other party is severely injured, do not let your guard down." The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram could attack and defend, advance and retreat. Xiao Chen finally had a trump card that belonged to him. It did not originate from the Blue Dragon martial technique, nor did it originate from the Bai clan's four-season saber technique, nor did it originate from the various secret techniques of the Battle Sage origins. In the 3,000 Great Realms, only Xiao Chen knew the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. In the future, if he could collect both the Silver Titanium Flame and the Sun Flame, this move would definitely become famous in the Kunlun realm. After resting on the small island for a few more days, Xiao Chen started his journey back to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. On the way here, he still needed to use the Scarlet Throne. On the way back, Xiao Chen directly used Quintessence to travel. His speed was even faster than the Scarlet Throne. However, it exhausted Quintessence. The Scarlet Throne did not exhaust much, so it could be used in many situations. 5 days later, the undulating Lingyun mountain range appeared in Xiao Chen's vision. The moment Xiao Chen landed at the foot of the mountain, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples on guard immediately recognized him. "Senior brother Xiao Chen, you finally returned. The First Elder is looking for you everywhere," 2 disciples said respectfully when they saw Xiao Chen. By now, Xiao Chen was already a legendary figure in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. As word of mouth spread, he became someone who surpassed the Thunder King. Previously, Xiao Chen wanted to explain himself. However, the more he said it, the more ridiculous it became. He could only smile bitterly and accept it helplessly. "Why is the First Elder looking for me?" Under normal circumstances, the First Elder would not be in such a rush to look for him. The 2 disciples shook their heads and said, "I'm not sure. Go directly to the main hall of the Heaven Viewing Platform. I heard that an incredible person is coming." Xiao Chen nodded gently. He no longer hesitated and flew to the Heaven Viewing Platform. Xiao Chen stood on a blue dragon image and moved up and down in the air. Then, he disappeared from the eyes of the 2 disciples on guard. As the 2 disciples watched Xiao Chen leave, an envious look flashed in their eyes. "Senior brother Xiao Chen is becoming more and more powerful. I feel like his aura is no different from those Supreme Elders. There is nothing to be envious about. When we cultivate in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Senior brother Xiao Chen's king's luck will more or less be affected. In the future, while we might not reach Senior brother's level, there is no doubt that we will surpass the others." "That's right. King Grade True Dragon luck. Right now, there are many people fighting to enter our Heavenly Saber Pavilion." After a few breaths, Xiao Chen landed outside the main hall and walked in. When he looked around, Xiao Chen discovered that something was wrong with the atmosphere in the main hall. All the Supreme Elders who were martial monarchs of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion were gathered here. Shin Manjun, who normally did not care about worldly matters, was also seated on a wooden chair. Everyone had a cautious expression on their faces. They all focused their gazes on a middle-aged man in purple robes in the main hall. That purple-robed man's aura was unfathomable. His aura was even stronger than Shin Manjuan's. He was a martial sage expert. "Xiao Chen, you are back." When Jiang Qi saw Xiao Chen, he quickly stood up to welcome him. He could feel Xiao Chen's aura. When he felt Xiao Chen's aura, Jiang Qi revealed an extremely joyful smile. The other Supreme Elders all revealed faint smiles as well. However, there was still worry lingering on their faces. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "First Elder, why are you in such a rush to find me?" Jiang Qi looked carefully at the purple-robed man and said, "That is the great Jin nation's Sima clan's clan head, Sima Hong. He has brought a challenge letter, challenging you on behalf of Sima Lingxian." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, I will accept the challenge letter. Just come. Sima Hong stood up and looked at Xiao Qin. An oppressive aura pressed down on him like a mountain. He smiled faintly and said, "Not only do you have to accept this challenge letter, but I also want you to lose to Lingxian. Remember, you must lose. Otherwise, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion will be destroyed because of your decision, suffering the rage of a martial sage." The aura of a martial sage pressed down on Xiao Qin. It was like a mountain pressing down on his back, forcing him to bend his back and lower his head. Xiao Qin clenched his teeth and remained silent. He stored up the aura of a king-grade true dragon genius to resist the aura of a martial sage. Spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the floor under Xiao Qin's feet and spread out in all directions. Bang! 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 The martial sage had already misunderstood the power of the world. The pressure of his aura was already a formless attack. The floor of the hall cracked with a rumble. Broken rocks soared into the air and crashed into the ceiling. A surging shock wave spread out. Aside from Shin Manjun, all the martial monarch's supreme elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion were forced back a few steps. "Don't yield, don't bend." Blood leaked out of a corner of Xiao Qin's mouth. He refused to bend his back as he stared at Sima Hong. At this moment, the satisfaction he felt from advancing to martial monarch vanished. It turned out that a so-called martial monarch was so weak before a martial sage. Even though the other party was just an inferior-grade martial sage, just his aura alone was not something Xiao Qin could resist. "Xiao Qin, you absolutely cannot agree to this old thing. He is so shameless. Your king-grade true dragon luck will vanish if you lose to someone of the same generation. It will become an ordinary true dragon luck." Ao Jiao, who was in the lunar shadow saber, said angrily, "At worst, I will fight it out with him. He is just an inferior-grade martial sage. Don't be rash. I have a way to deal with him," Xiao Qin said calmly to himself as he stopped Ao Jiao. "Not bad. Under my pressure, you can still last for a long time." Sima Hong laughed loudly and withdrew his aura. "You better think it through. Do you agree or not?" The strength that Sima Hong displayed horrified the surrounding elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Even if all the martial monarchs in the hall worked together, they would not be a match for him. It would even be difficult for them to injure him. The pressure on Xiao Qin lessened significantly. However, he did not relax. He said sullenly, "I will accept the challenge. However, I cannot lose without fighting." Sima Hong smiled coldly and tossed out a spatial ring. He said, "Sima Lingxian will be here 10 days from now. There are 10,000 superior-grade spirit stones in here. I will not let you lose for nothing. It is just a show. Not only will you not suffer any losses, but you will also gain a large sum of superior-grade spirit stones for nothing. I believe you will change your mind." After saying that, Sima Hong laughed and strode out of the palace with his head held high. Shin Manjun walked over and said, "Xiao Qin, don't worry. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion will not make things difficult for you. One martial sage is not enough to scare us." Currently, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion did not have any martial sages. If Xiao Qin really offended Sima Hong, he would not be exaggerating. Actually, Shin Manjun was not very confident in her words. Xiao Qin wiped away the blood on his lips and said softly, "Senior, there is no need to say that. Xiao Qin is in Qingyun Peak. Naturally, I will not sit back and watch as the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is threatened. I will write a letter to the Haotian sect. In at most 7 days, they will definitely send out a martial sage to hold the fort. At that time, this Sima Hong will not be able to do anything. Because the noble clans had produced martial emperors before, the quality of their bloodline geniuses was higher than that of the 10 great sections. However, in terms of overall strength, they could not compare to the 10 great sections. Furthermore, the Haotian sect had an even stronger main sect in the Kunlun realm. With the Haotian sect supporting them, the Sima clan would not dare to act recklessly. When the other supreme elders in the hall heard what Xiao Qin said, they all heaved a sigh of relief. The worry on their faces disappeared. When Xiao Chen saw this, he did not say anything. Sima Hong's strength was clear for all to see. It would be too much to ask them to help him. The strong reigned supreme. Since ancient times, this had been the only rule in the Tianwu continent. Xiao Chen was already very satisfied that these supreme elders did not make things difficult for him under Sima Hong's pressure. Qinyun Peak, Lu Ryue's courtyard. Smoke spread everywhere. Xiao Chen and Lu Ryue sat at a tea table, drinking tea and chatting. As the peak master of Qinyun Peak, Lu Ryue already knew everything that happened in the hall. Worry appeared on her face. Chapter 621. When Xiao Chen saw the situation, he smiled faintly and grabbed the other party's hand. He said, "Don't worry. Sima Lingxian is definitely not a match for me now. The martial sages of the Haotian sect should arrive in 7 days." That's right. Xiao Chen thought of something and took out 10 inferior-grade spirit gathering pearls from the universe ring. He handed them to Lu Ryue and said, "You are now a half-step martial monarch. When you break through to martial monarch, you can use these spirit gathering pearls." When Lu Ryue saw Xiao Chen's strong confidence in his words, she did not say anything more. As for the spirit gathering pearls, she did not take them. Lu Ryue revealed a smile on her charming face. She said, "There's no need. It will not be difficult for me to break through to martial monarch. It is just a matter of time. The spirit gathering pearls will probably be precious even in the Kunlun realm. You should keep them." When Xiao Chen mentioned the Kunlun realm, Xiao Chen revealed a sad expression. He had to go to the Kunlun realm. However, once he went, if he could not become Emperor Wu, it would be very difficult for him to return. After parting like this, he did not know how many years it would be before he could see Lu Ryue again. Lu Ryue was in her prime. She was very pretty and in the prime of her youth. This was the best time of a girl's life. She placed all her love on him, whom she might never see again. The bitterness was hard to describe with words. Lu Ryue could tell what Xiao Chen was thinking. She smiled sweetly, like 100 flowers blooming. She gently grasped Xiao Chen's right hand and said softly, "Don't overthink for me. When I first saw you many years ago, I knew that this insignificant Qinyun Peak would not be able to hold you back. You're lying dormant here just to fly higher. To me, the further you can go, the happier I'll be. Just don't forget about Qinyun Peak. There is Lu Ryue waiting for you." A tender feeling appeared in Xiao Chen's heart. He enunciated every word clearly, "I will never forget in this life. I will definitely become a martial emperor in the Kunlun realm and return." The two of them stared at each other, speechless. In the remaining days, Xiao Chen did not immediately enter bitter cultivation. Sima Lingxian was no match for him. If they fought again now, even if the other party had reached the martial monarch realm, he would only be humiliating himself. He was collecting some ingredients for alchemy. In the Compendium of Cultivation, there was an alchemy recipe called the Beauty-Retaining Pill. It could ensure that a woman's appearance would not change for 1,000 years. The ingredients required for the pill recipe were extremely complicated. Xiao Chen planned to use the remaining half a year to refine this pill and give it to Lu Ryue. In the blink of an eye, 6 days had passed. On this day, as Xiao Chen was taking inventory of the countenance-halting pill ingredients, he suddenly felt a strong aura flying towards the heavenly saber pavilion without any fear. "Xiao Chen, come out and fight!" A loud shout resounded, spreading throughout the entire Lingyun mountain range. It startled all the disciples in the heavenly saber pavilion. Due to the other party's intentional support, sound waves spread out. The sound traveled further and further. All the cultivators within a radius of 250 kilometers heard this shout. Who was Xiao Chen? He was the champion of this 5-nation youth competition, someone who stood at the top of the younger generation. He was a king-grade true dragon genius. Unexpectedly, someone took the initiative to challenge him at this moment. All sorts of busybodies immediately became interested. Many figures flew towards the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. When the elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion heard Sima Hong's voice, their expressions turned unsightly. The martial sages of the Haotian sect would arrive tomorrow at the earliest. Who would have thought that Sima Hong would arrive at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion 5 days in advance? He was not mentally prepared at all. Bang! 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 Sima Hong casually broke the restrictions in front of the gate. He brought the finely dressed Sima Lingxian and arrived before the heaven viewing platform in the blink of an eye. Xiao Chun put away the ingredients and leaped out of the window. He stood on a blue dragon image and arrived a kilometer in front of the two. Xiao Chun looked forward. Indeed, Sima Lingxian had already advanced to martial monarch. His aura was as strong as a peak inferior grade martial monarch's. Xiao Chun, there is no need for me to tell you what to do, right? If you do not lose, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion will be destroyed because of you, Sima Hong said coldly to Xiao Chun using his voice. Xiao Chun ignored him. He looked at Sima Lingxian and said, "There are many people here. Come with me to the heaven ascending platform to fight." Sima Hong looked at Xiao Chun's departing figure and smiled coldly to himself. "I hope you are more tactful. After destroying the luck of my Sima clan for 500 years, I do not mind taking the Heavenly Saber Pavilion down with me." "Father, I'm going," Sima Lingxian said to Sima Hong after taking a deep breath. Recollecting his thoughts, Sima Hong smiled faintly and said, "Go in peace. You have already advanced to martial monarch. The accumulations of a martial king will allow you to burst out with tenfold combat prowess. You will definitely win this battle and reclaim the king-grade true dragon's luck. Then, you will enter the Kunlun realm in your most perfect state. The Sima clan will not fall because of you." Sima Lingxuan's eyes flickered with heavy confidence. He nodded gravely and said, "Wait for my good news." Sima Lingxuan's figure flickered continuously in the air as he chased after Xiao Chun. Eventually, he arrived at the huge drill grounds of the heaven ascending platform. Xiao! Xiao! The two landed on the drill grounds, one in front and one behind. Then, they each stood in a corner, facing the wind. The taller buildings of the heaven ascending platform were already filled with Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples. They had never seen Xiao Chun make a move before. They also did not know that Sima Hong had pressured Xiao Chun. Their gazes were filled with excitement. They were filled with anticipation for Xiao Chun to display his might and defeat the great Jin nation's genius swordsman once again. "Senior brother Xiao Chun, do your best." His father was rude. Teach his son a lesson and beat him up until he scrammed back. "Right, that's right, scram back. Scrammed back. Scrammed back." Instantly, the entire mountain was filled with chants of "scrammed back." The voices merged together, causing the air to tremble. As of now, Xiao Chun was like the sun in the sky in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he was the idol of all the disciples. However, the moment that Sima Hong arrived, he chased Xiao Chun out. There was no lack of hot-blooded youths among the mountain disciples. Who cared if you were a martial sage or not? This was the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, the great Qin nation's Heavenly Saber Pavilion. This was Xiao Chun's home ground. If they did not help Xiao Chun regain his dignity, who would? Sima Lingxuan's expression turned sullen. Even though he was only ranked third on the True Dragon ranking, no one in the great Jin nation dared to speak to him like that. He had never suffered such humiliation before. Boom! After Sima Lingxian advanced to martial monarch, his strong aura erupted together with the rage in his heart. A strong wind blew and the clouds churned. The sword in Sima Lingxuan's hand hummed and infused with quintessence. He pointed it at Xiao Chun, and the sword chi made of quintessence shot out, tearing thin cracks in the air. Before Sima Lingxian made a move, he had already displayed his strength. When some of the supreme elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion saw this, they felt fear in their hearts. Just based on the strength that Sima Lingxian had displayed, Some of the inferior-grade martial monarchs among them would not be a match for him. Some of the medial-grade martial monarchs would not have more than a 60% chance of defeating him. No one had seen Shao Qin make a move after he advanced to martial monarch. They could not help but feel worried for Shao Qin. Sima Lingxian said in a cold voice, "Shao Qin, the accumulation of my cultivation as a martial king is beyond your imagination. Back then, you defeated me in 10 moves. Today, I only need 1 move to defeat you." Shao Qin smiled faintly and said unconcernedly, "You are wrong about one thing. It is not that you forced me to defeat you in 10 moves. Rather, it is that I am willing to defeat you in 10 moves. If I really wanted to defeat you, why would I need 10 moves? Let's see what ability you have to boast. The mandate of heaven is with me, the ruler of the world, the sword of kings." Sima Lingxian soared into the air. Winds blew behind him, and the sky changed color. It materialized a scene of all living things killing each other, 100 armies fighting, and a chaotic war between dynasties. Sima Lingxian was the one who would end this chaotic world. He had come with the mandate of heaven, using the sword of kings to command the world. He used the power of a dynasty to transform the state on his sword to resist Shao Qin. Shao Qin felt excited. No wonder Sima Lingxian was so confident this time. His state of kingship had improved by another level. Not only did it not stop because of his previous defeat, but it even improved further. However, this was still not enough. A dynasty would eventually fall. A true king would not use the power of a dynasty to fight an enemy. This was because he himself was an unrivaled king. There was no need for external help. If it were any other time, Shao Qin would be interested in exchanging 100 moves with Sima Lingxian. After all, Sima Lingxian had his own unique side. If Shao Qin fought with Sima Lingxian, he would definitely gain something. However, it was different now. There was an even more horrifying Sima Hong standing behind Sima Lingxian. As for losing without a fight, Shao Qin had never thought about it. How could a king-grade true dragon lower its head and bend over in fear? If Sima Hong wanted to bury the Heavenly Saber Pavilion with him, then even if Shao Qin had to risk his life, he would make Sima Lingxian suffer a few layers of skin. He would let Sima Lingxian know what regret was. After Shao Qin made up his mind, 2 resplendent star-like flames, one purple and one white, flashed in his eyes. Xiao! 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 The purple lightning origin flame and the lunar origin flame flew out and turned into 2 Yu-Enin chasing each other in the air. The mental energy in Shao Qin's sea of consciousness drained continuously. Taiji Yin-Yang Flame Diagram. When the Taiji diagram formed, Shao Qin shouted ferociously and pushed his right hand forward. The Yin and Yang flames formed a beautiful Taiji diagram. They intertwined and merged, turning into an unparalleled energy of primal chaos. Who cares about the mandate of heaven, materializing the power of the dynasty, or the everlasting Yin and Yang? I will break it with force. The Yin and Yang flames actually merged. How did he think of this? How did he do it? Jiang Qi and the other elders exclaimed in shock. What exactly is that diagram? How come I have never seen it before? Unexpectedly, the 2 extreme energies of Yin and Yang can merge in such a strange manner. The people of the Tianwu continent had never seen the Taiji diagram before. This was an eye-opener for Shin Manjun and the others, finding it incredible. Bang! 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 The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram moved very quickly. It used absolute force to break the quintessence mysterious phenomenon of Sima Lingxian's sword strike. The new dynasty formed by the state of kingship behind Sima Lingxian fell back into the flames of war. Miserable cries resounded everywhere as the state of kingship completely crumbled. Pu Xi. The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram crashed into Sima Lingxian's body, and a surging energy erupted. Sima Lingxian vomited a large mouthful of blood as his body flew back uncontrollably. The energy far surpassed everyone's expectations. When it exploded, shock waves surged and clouds appeared. The horrifying energy knocked Sima Lingxian off the heaven-ascending platform. Chapter 6:22. Sima Lingxian tumbled down the slope. His entire body was pierced by the strange rocks and shrubs. It was a tragic sight. Sima Lingxian's internal injuries were worse than his external injuries. The purple thunder true fire and the lunar true flame burned his internal organs. The quintessence from his dantian could not protect his internal organs at all when the two flames spewed out. When the heavenly saber pavilion disciples on the various buildings on the heaven-ascending platform saw this scene, they could not react. They did not expect the battle to end so quickly. What was more, they did not expect the casual words they shouted at the start to turn into reality. Sima Lingxian really rolled back in a sorry state. He won. Senior brother Shao Chen really won. He used only one move to send Sima Lingxian rolling back. How powerful! I did not dare to imagine it. Ha ha ha! Serves them right. How delightful! Let's see if they still dare to show off their might in our heavenly saber pavilion. After a long time, the crowd erupted in thunderous cheers, resounding endlessly. Their gazes toward Shao Chen became even more respectful. Such an outstanding talent was a disciple of their heavenly saber pavilion. This made them feel a sense of pride that was hard to swallow. In the future, when they went out, they could say that Shao Chen was their senior brother and that they had personally seen him fight. The disciples of the other sects in the great Qin nation would probably die of envy. Shao Chen, you actually dared to make a move. No words could describe the rage in Sima Hong's heart. He had not expected Shao Chen to really dare to defeat Sima Lingxian in front of him. Furthermore, Shao Chen had defeated Sima Lingxian in one move. Even when Sima Hong wanted to save Sima Lingxian, he discovered that there was no chance. Sima Hong was a bona fide martial sage, one of the people at the top of the pyramid of the Tianwu continent. To him, Shao Chen was like an ant. He could crush him easily. However, today, he was slapped in the face by this ant. Furthermore, it was such a heavy slap. Unforgivable, absolutely unforgivable. If he did not kill Shao Chen, he would not be able to vent his anger. A sword appeared in Sima Hong's hand. It flashed in the air as though he teleported. Then, he sent a quintessence sword chi containing the power of the world at Shao Chen. It's over. Sima Hong actually disregarded his status and made a move against a junior. All the elders of the heavenly saber pavilion paled. They thought to themselves in a panic, how could Shao Chen, an inferior-grade martial cultivator, survive the sword strike of the martial sage? The sword energy that Sima Hong released looked ordinary and without any fancy moves. Even a medial-grade martial monarch could casually send out a sword chi that could pierce space and shine with sharpness. However, this strand of sword chi, the sword chi of a martial sage, did not pierce through space. Not even a tiny crack appeared in space, giving off an inconceivable feeling. The sword chi was long and narrow, dazzling. It seemed to glide along a unique trajectory between heaven and earth. As it approached, the light on the sword chi became more and more condensed. With the support of the power of the world, the sword light was traceless. The might of the sword chi increased with every passing second. Shao Chen's expression turned grave. He did not dare to be slow. He quickly raised his left hand, and the lunar yin-yang flame diagram on the ground appeared in front of him with a xiao sound. A vast and surging mental energy poured into the Taiji diagram in Shao Chen's sea of consciousness. The beautiful Taiji diagram instantly gave off a dazzling golden light. The 8 trigrams, yin-yang, and 4 divisions appeared as the Taiji diagram circulated. When Shao Chen stood on the ground, he seemed to be one with the world. Bang! The sword chi that Sima Hong sent out in rage crashed into the Taiji diagram. The yin-yang flame diagram instantly exploded, and a horrifying energy spread out. The huge drill ground was blasted into pieces in an instant. countless rocks and boulders flew up from the sky, stirring up a cloud of dust that was blown away by the wind. A strand of sword chi shot out from the dust cloud at an even faster speed at the chasing Sima Hong. Dang! Sima Hong's expression changed slightly. He held his sword horizontally and blocked with his quintessence. Bang! There was another sound that was even more horrifying than the previous one. The dust cloud spread out again and a vast, deep pit appeared on the ground. It extended at a visible rate. All the other buildings on the heaven-ascending platform collapsed. Using this strand of sword chi as a shield, Xiao Chen's figure flickered. He stood on the blue dragon image and soared into the air. His complexion was pale, and blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. Xiao Chen's complexion did not look very good. Only his eyes were filled with vigor, not showing any signs of fatigue. The instant the sword chi containing the power of the world shattered the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram, the shock wave struck Xiao Chen's body, instantly shattering the quintessence in his body. The sword chi was unblockable. It was of a much higher grade than Xiao Chen's quintessence. Just the shock wave inflicted severe damage to his internal organs. If not for Xiao Chen's strong physical body, this shock wave would have severed all the meridians and shattered all the internal organs of a regular cultivator, killing them on the spot. He is not dead. When the supreme elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion saw Xiao Chen leaping out of the dust cloud, they all revealed expressions of pleasant surprise. Martial sages had already comprehended the power of the world. Although it was not much, as long as a trace of the power of the world was infused into their quintessence, its might would increase by several times. Unexpectedly, with Xiao Chen's cultivation realm, he was able to receive this sword strike. Furthermore, it seemed like he could still fight and was not at the brink of death. Shin Manjuan's expression sank. Xiao Chen cannot fall here. The luck of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is already linked to his. If he dies, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion will be destroyed. Jiangqi, I order you to immediately gather the Divine Saber Camp and use the full strength of the sect to fight against Sima Hong. We cannot let Xiao Chen die here. Jiangqi did not hesitate and said, Disciple obeys. After Shen Manjun spoke to Jiangqi, she soared into the sky and flew away. She had a sullen expression as she shielded Xiao Chen. All the quintessence in her body surged wildly. Sima Hong, how old are you? Do you not care about your status at all? Unexpectedly, you made a move against a junior, Shin Manjun said expressionlessly. Sima Hong let out a long whistle, and a strong wind blew in all directions, dispersing the dust and revealing the dilapidated drill ground. Sima Hong stared at Shin Manjun and said coldly, Scram. I hate people who do not want face when I give them face. I already said it 6 days ago. As long as he loses to Ling Xian, everything will be fine. Today, this brat does not know what is good for him. Don't blame me for being merciless. There were already many cultivators in the surroundings of the heaven-ascending platform. When they heard this, their expressions changed. Sima Hong actually ignored his status and threatened Xiao Chen to admit defeat. This was too shameless. Shin Manjun said sullenly, Have you thought of the consequences of killing someone in my Heavenly Saber Pavilion? Sima Hong laughed loudly and said, What is the Heavenly Saber Pavilion? Do you think you are one of the 10 great sects? I really do not care about you. Since you are not leaving, I will kill you first. Hu Qi. Hu Qi. A sword light surged and 2 strands of sword chi intersected, forming a cross-shaped sword light as it flashed towards Shin Manjun. A slender saber appeared in Shin Manjuan's hand. She brought out her 300 years of cultivation at full power. The saber light tore space apart. The cross-shaped sword light carried the might of heaven as it surged over. It broke all the saber techniques Shin Manjun executed, forcing her back 100 steps. Shin Manjun breathed out slightly. In the end, she managed to block the sword light of a martial sage. You are like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Sima Hong snorted coldly and appeared before Shin Manjun, who had just blocked the sword light. He brandished his sword and a chain of sword techniques spread out. Dang, dang, dang. The sound of sabers and swords clashing resounded in the air. With every step Sima Hong took, heaven and earth seemed to take a step forward. That boundless aura was not something Shen Manjun could block, no matter how high her cultivation was. Every time Shen Manjun blocked a sword strike, she vomited a mouthful of blood. Her complexion paled even more. Scram! After 9 sword strikes, Sima Hong shouted ferociously. His sword gave off a bright light, and its might increased. The sword light shot out and knocked Shen Manjun back. Shen Manjun's figure shot back like an arrow. She could not retaliate at all as she crashed into a mountain peak. The peak exploded and rocks fell. When Xiao Qin saw Shen Manjun's death, his eyes turned completely cold. He rushed forward and hacked down with his saber. Blue dragon goes to sea. 99 pillars of water shot out from the vast sea behind Sima Hong. The blue dragon leaped out of the water, and a 3-kilometer-long saber light flickered as it tore through the air and hacked down. Sima Hong's expression was somewhat surprised. He had not expected Xiao Qin to not flee and even dare to attack him. When the saber light arrived before him, he had no choice but to execute a screen of swords to block it. One. Sword chi hummed, and the power of the world surged out continuously. They intertwined and formed an indestructible screen of light. It contained the might of the world and seemed eternal and inextinguishable. Battle Sage Origins, Strength Character Formula, 33 times Combat Prowess. Xiao Qin roared wildly. He did not care about the consequences and exhausted all the quintessence in his body in that instant. The moment the might of the saber light approached Sima Hong, its might soared until it reached a frightening level. Bang! The screen of swords containing the might of the world and eternally inextinguishable shattered before this blue dragon goes to sea infused with the strength character formula. The saber light knocked Sima Hong back with a schwa sound. Sima Hong's clothes were torn, and his flesh was mangled. There was no place on him that was unscathed. He appeared to be in a sorry state. When he fell from the air, he vomited 3 mouthfuls of blood. Unexpectedly, he managed to knock back an inferior-grade martial sage. Furthermore, he is so injured. The onlookers who sensed this were extremely shocked. They did not dare to imagine it. Sima Hong was a martial sage. Unexpectedly, a martial monarch's killing move knocked him back. Xiao! Sima Hong only retreated 100 meters in the air before he regained his footing. The wounds on his body healed at a visible rate. An extremely sinister look flashed in Sima Hong's eyes. Earlier, Xiao Qin managed to block his sword strike. That was already embarrassing enough. Now, Xiao Qin even injured him in front of everyone. Originally, given Sima Hong's strength, even if Xiao Qin executed the strength character formula and the blue dragon goes to sea, he would not have been able to injure Sima Hong. However, Sima Hong had misjudged. He had used only half his strength to defend against the blue dragon goes to sea. Unexpectedly, Xiao Qin was able to increase the might of the blue dragon goes to sea by 33 times in an instant. Since Sima Hong was caught off guard, he ended up in such a sorry state. Once again, he lost to Xiao Qin. Chapter 623. Unexpectedly, there is such a secret technique. It can instantly increase the might of one's martial technique by 33 times. If it were a regular peak martial monarch, they would have been killed by this attack. After Sima Hong calmed down, he thought with some fear in his heart, I have to get rid of this brat. Otherwise, there will be endless trouble in the future. If I let him mature, the Sima clan will fall. Seeing Sima Hong stand up again, Xiao Qin, who was lying weakly on the ground, could not help but reveal a bitter smile. Using the strength character formula to activate the blue dragon goes to sea was already the strongest killing move that Xiao Qin could execute. Once the strength character formula was activated, Any fist or leg martial technique would instantly increase its might by 33 times. The first time Xiao Chen executed the strength character formula, it was Lu Ryue's father who activated it. At that time, he was forced to execute it and could only use it. He did not know the principles behind it. After Xiao Chen advanced to Martial Monarch, he barely managed to learn this secret technique with Ao Jiao's help. Right now, Xiao Chen was not very familiar with it. His quintessence was not surging enough. When he executed it like this, not only was his quintessence drained, but his stamina was also completely drained. Without 3 to 5 days of rest, he would not be able to recover. When Xiao Chen saw Sima Hong slowly walking over like the Grim Reaper, he calmed down. Even if Xiao Chen had to choose again, he would not choose to lose without a fight. He would rather die than lower his head. One only had one breath left to live. Why should one let oneself live in such a sullen manner? That kind of life was not what Xiao Chen wanted. There was no point in living there. Xiao Chen sheathed the lunar shadow saber and prevented Ao Jiao from appearing. He did not intend to let her fight to the death. Xiao Chen had promised the Thunder King that he would not let the lunar shadow saber break again, even if he died. When a cultivator advances to martial sage, his body will be infused with spiritual energy for a long period of time. In the instant he comprehended the world, his physical body will become a sage body. He cannot look at it like a regular cultivator. A regular light injury can recover in a short time. His physical body's defense is also several times stronger than a peak martial monarch. Although Xiao Chen managed to injure his opponent, he didn't injure his foundation, so it's all in vain. Even so, he can still be proud of himself. He's probably the only one in the past thousands of years who's managed to injure a martial saint as a martial emperor. Unfortunately, outside the heaven ascending platform, some of the cultivators who had rushed over to watch the show revealed expressions of regret as they sighed. Now, no one in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion could stop Sima Hong. One could easily imagine Xiao Chen's fate. Sima Hong crossed the distance of 1 kilometer and arrived before Xiao Chen in less than 100 steps. As he looked at the weakened Xiao Chen on the ground, there was no emotion in his eyes. You should be proud to die at the hands of a martial saint. With a flip of his hand, Sima Hong thrust his sword at Xiao Chen's chest at lightning speed. Bang! Just as Sima Hong's sword was about to touch Xiao Chen's chest, a strand of scarlet saber chi descended from the sky. It carried a boundless state of massacre as it pierced towards Sima Hong's forehead. That saber chi contained a surging energy. It was like the energy of thousands of people gathered together. There was even a trace of the power of heaven and earth in it. When Sima Hong felt a threat, he sheathed his sword and sent out a sword light to meet the saber chi. Dang! The sword and saber chi clashed, and Sima Hong took 3 steps back. When he looked up, he saw that Jiang Qi had finally arrived with the 2,000 elites of the Divine Saber Camp. These 2,000 bladesmen wore tight robes and held scarlet sabers in their hands. Their eyes were cold as they looked at Sima Hong. There was no fear in their gazes, only a boundless state of massacre. Under Jiang Qi's lead, the 2,000 people formed the blood-slaughtering formation in midair. Everyone's aura merged and formed a vast aura. That strand of saber chi earlier was the result of these 2,000 people working together. This was the first time they truly forced Sima Hong back 3 steps. Jiang Qi said sullenly, "Sima Hong, leave now. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion will pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, even if the Heavenly Saber Pavilion fights to the death, we will make you pay a price." Sima Hong smiled coldly and said, "Ignorant? How can the insignificant Heavenly Saber Pavilion make me pay a price? Today, I will show you the true strength of a martial sage." Bang! Sima Hong pushed off the ground and arrived before Jiang Qi. He brandished his sword, and sword lights filled the sky. Every strike infused the power of heaven and earth into the sword technique. The 2,000 divine saber camp disciples drew their sabers at the same time. Relying on the energy of the formation, they focused all their energy on Jiang Qi. Jiang Qi did his best to block. However, when facing Sima Hong, who used his full power, he paled in comparison to the vast power of heaven and earth. Dang! 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 Sima Hong's gaze was calm as he executed all sorts of sword technique. His speed became faster and his strength became stronger. He forced Jiang Qi to retreat in midair. Unexpectedly, the blood-slaughtering formation formed by 2,000 elites was unable to block the martial sage Sima Hong. You dare to be so impudent with such a dog's hit formation? Break! Sima Hong lost his patience. He gathered all the sword lights together and thrust his sword forward. Jiang Qi's saber technique shattered, and the saber in his hand was knocked away. The sword lights entered Jiang Qi's body, and all the accumulated injuries erupted in one breath. He vomited a large mouthful of blood and fell weakly from the sky. The 2,000 divine saber camp bladesmen, who had been sending energy to Jiang Qi, could no longer hold on. They vomited mouthfuls of blood and fell from the sky like rain. After breaking the blood-slaughtering formation, Sima Hong landed once again. Then, he walked towards Shao Chen with a boundless killing intent. Fight it out with him. The Supreme Elders, who originally feared Sima Hong's strength, saw Jiang Qi and the other 2,000 fall miserably from the sky. Their eyes filled with hatred as they executed their strongest moves. They released multicolored saber lights in the air and chopped at Sima Hong. Sima Hong revealed disdain as he said, "No matter how many ants there are, it is useless." Dang! Dang! Sword lights flickered. Sima Hong's footsteps did not stop. Even when facing these people's attacks, he did not stop. With each step, he swung his sword. With one sword strike, Sima Hong broke the martial techniques that these Supreme Elders had spent their entire lives researching. He knocked back the Heavenly Saber Pavilion Supreme Elders like they were sandbags. They could not retaliate at all. Is this the strength of a martial sage? This is too horrifying. No wonder he is at the top of the pyramid of the Tianwu continent. Even the strength of a sect cannot stop him. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion is probably going to suffer a calamity. The cultivators who rushed over to watch the excitement revealed gloating expressions. The rise of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was not a good thing for them. Stop him! We cannot let him kill senior brother Shao Chen. When the Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples gathered around the heaven ascending platform saw Sima Hong getting closer to Shao Chen, their blood surged. They could no longer hold themselves back and launched themselves at Sima Hong, all for the sake of stopping Sima Hong and winning a chance for Shao Chen to survive. You are not even comparable to an ant. How dare you block my way? Sima Hong revealed an impatient expression. He could not even be bothered to swing his sword. Instead, he waved his left hand gently. Wind blew from all directions, forming a strong gust of wind. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples flying over were knocked back a kilometer by the strong wind. The sound of footsteps grew louder and louder. Sima Hong arrived before Shao Chen once again. He looked at Shao Chen and said in a cold voice, "I never boast. Now, do you know the consequences of your wrong decision?" Shao Chen's pale face was expressionless. He only said coldly, "If I don't die, I will wash the Sima clan in blood in the future." Ha ha ha! Who can save you? When Sima Hong heard this, it was like he had heard a joke. He laughed arrogantly. Who dares to offend a martial sage to save you? You are still dreaming even at death's door. Go to hell and destroy my Sima clan. Arrogant. Just at this moment, a cold snort came from the horizon. The person who spoke seemed to be far away. However, the voice sounded like it was right beside Sima Hong's ear, speaking softly. These two conflicting feelings merged together. Sima Hong's expression immediately changed. He felt an extremely dangerous aura and quickly turned his head to look. However, before he could react, a wooden box seemed to have traveled through time and space. It suddenly flew over and crashed into Sima Hong. Pu Ci. The small wooden box seemed to contain an unparalleled force. Sima Hong vomited a mouthful of blood and went flying back. The wooden box landed in front of Xiao Chen with a xiao sound. The words, like the emperor descending personally, were written on the front. No one dared to look at them directly. Sima Hong wiped off the blood from the corner of his lips and shouted angrily, acting all mysterious. The Tianwu continent no longer has Emperor Wu. Die. After Sima Hong spoke, he launched himself at Xiao Chen in an even more ferocious manner. Ka-xie! Ka-xie! The 4 wooden boards of the wooden box fell off one by one. A simple and unadorned saber floated quietly in the air. A horrifying aura spread out from the saber like it could topple mountains and flip seas. Before this aura, Sima Hong was like a drop of water in the vast ocean, unremarkable. The aura was like the vast ocean and as heavy as a mountain. When Sima Hong crashed into this aura, he bounced back in a sorry state. He rolled a few times on the ground before coming to a stop. Divine weapon! Sima Hong's eyes filled with horror. Then, he thought of something. Without saying anything else, he picked up Sima Lingxuan's unconscious body and flew out without looking back. Come, saber! An aged voice rang out. Everyone looked up and saw a gray-robed old man flying over. He casually waved his hand and the divine weapon came out of its scabbard. The heavenly saber pavilion's divine weapon, which had not been drawn for many years, finally saw the light of day again. While in the air, the gray-robed old man waved his hand and grasped the divine weapon, heavenly universe saber. In that instant the world seemed insignificant under his feet. If a martial sage of the same cultivation steeled himself to run, it would be hard for the other party to stop him. At this moment, Sima Hong had already carried Sima Lingxian 10 kilometers away. In the eyes of the crowd, they were like a black dot in the distant sky. It was so hazy that they could not see the other party's movements. The old man held the divine weapon and swung it at Sima Hong. The divine weapon immediately gave off a bright light, completely covering the light of the sun. Everyone saw an unimaginable scene. Night fell quietly, and countless stars twinkled. The boundless universe seemed to have formed a scroll, and at this moment it was unfolding. Normally, the most dazzling sun in the eyes of ordinary people was just an unremarkable star among the many stars. Compared to the vast universe, it was extremely insignificant. Chapter 6:24. Only the beam of light on the divine weapon remained eternal. At this moment, the gray-robed old man holding the divine weapon became the center of the sky dome realm. Xiao! A miserable shriek resounded and the light scattered. The various mysterious phenomena vanished, replaced by the blazing sun high in the sky. However, the shocking scene just now had left an indelible mark in everyone's hearts. At the end of the horizon, everyone could see the black dot that Sima Hong had turned into. He was like a broken kite on the verge of falling. The saber chi of the divine weapon severely injured him from 10 kilometers away. Come back! The gray-robed old man shouted ferociously. He spread open his left palm, and a huge suction force formed in the center of his palm, which contained the power of the world. A horrifying whirlpool formed in the air. Sima Hong, who was 10 kilometers away, was covered in blood as he was pulled back uncontrollably. Bang! A loud sound rang out. Sima Hong and Sima Lingxian both landed on the heaven ascending platform. Under the vast might of the divine weapon, Sima Hong knelt on one knee. His severely injured body could not help but tremble. There was a horrifying wound on his chest from which blood flowed. When Jiang Qi and the other elders below saw the old man arrive, they became very excited. However, because of the might of the divine weapon, they could not go forward to speak with him. Ka-xie! The old man casually waved his hand, and the divine weapon returned to its scabbard. The wooden box returned to its original position and quietly stood beside Xiao Chen. Sima Hong's aura suddenly relaxed, and he fell heavily to the ground. The old man's figure flashed and landed beside Sima Hong. After injuring so many of my Heavenly Saber Pavilion's disciples, do you think that is possible? Sima Hong bowed and said in dissatisfaction, Leng Tianyun, you are just relying on the might of the divine weapon. What capabilities do you have? If you were truly capable, the position of Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Pavilion Master would have been yours. So, it is him, the younger brother of the previous Pavilion Master. Unexpectedly, he returned. 40 years ago, for the sake of vying for the position of Pavilion Master, he lost to his elder brother and left in a huff. Unexpectedly, after not seeing him for 40 years, he actually stepped into the threshold of martial sage. Upon hearing Sima Hong's words, everyone's hearts skipped a beat. They all guessed the gray-robed old man's identity. 40 years ago, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was like the sun in the sky. Furthermore, two absolute geniuses appeared at the same time. Furthermore, they were brothers. Unfortunately, one mountain could not contain two tigers. Leng Tianyun lost to his brother in one move. He had no choice but to give up his position as Pavilion Master and leave the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. However, the demonic calamity 20 years ago caused the Heavenly Saber Pavilion to lose all its elite. The genius Pavilion Master also died. Since then, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had declined. Otherwise, Sima Hong would not dare to behave atrociously here, boasting that he could destroy the Heavenly Saber Pavilion by himself. Now, at the most critical moment for the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Leng Tianyun finally rushed back. Using the divine weapon, he defeated Sima Hong in one move. When Leng Tianyun heard Sima Hong's words, he snorted coldly, "Ignorant fool. Even if your father were here, he would not dare to say such words. Junior brother Jiang, send someone to hang him at the gates of Saber City. When the Sima clan's people come to pick him up, the Sima clan will have to compensate the Heavenly Saber Pavilion 100-fold. A bona fide martial sage, someone at the top of the pyramid of the continent, was actually going to be hung at the city gates. Just thinking about it gave everyone a headache. Sima Hong got up and leaped forward. He shouted angrily, Leng Tianyun, you dare? Why would I not dare? Leng Tianyun kicked Sima Hong back. The force in his right leg was boundless, scattering the last bit of Sima Hong's quintessence. When Jiang Qi and the other elders heard Leng Tianyun's words, they quickly ordered people to capture Sima Hong. Then, they cuffed him up and dragged him away. Leng Tianyun looked up and saw the other cultivators who had taken advantage of the chaos to sneak in. He immediately came to his senses and quickly fled. Normally, this was a forbidden land. Now that the chaos was over, if they did not leave, it would be problematic if they pursued the matter. When Leng Tianyun saw that this group of people were rather tactful, he withdrew his gaze and ignored them. Senior brother Leng, fortunately you arrived in time. Otherwise, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would have been destroyed, Jiang Qi and the others quickly said respectfully. Leng Tianyun muttered, there is no need to say anything more. Although I have left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, I will not sit back and watch as the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is destroyed. Leng Tianyun waved his hand to stop Jiang Qi and the others from continuing. Then, he turned his head and looked at Xiao Chen, who had already stood up. His eyes revealed deep interest. Xiao Chen performed a cupped fist salute and said, Many thanks for Senior's help. Leng Tianyun smiled faintly and said, You saved yourself. You were able to resist the temptation of the divine weapon and hand it over to me. Back then, you sowed the seed of today. If not for the divine weapon's warning, I would not have rushed over. This is the result. If you could let go of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion and go directly to the Haotian sect, Sima Hong would not have dared to play such trick. In the end, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is a burden to you. However, this will never happen again. I will compensate you for today's matter. Based on Leng Tianyun's words, He was planning to stay in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The surrounding elders all revealed excited expressions, clearly very happy. With such a martial sage guarding the Heavenly Saber Pavilion and able to use the divine weapon, no one in the Sky Dome realm would dare to offend the Heavenly Saber Pavilion in the future. After that, Sima Hong and Sima Lingxian had their cultivations sealed and were hung above Saber City's walls. The commotion caused by the duel between Xiao Chun and Sima Lingxian came to an end just like that. Sima Hong, who had a ferocious aura and valiant strength, lost his reputation. He did not even gain any sympathy. When dawn arrived the next day, the Haotian sect's old Feng arrived as well. When he saw Sima Hong above Saber City, he smiled faintly. However, he did not enter the mountain and just left. Actually, Old Feng was not particularly worried about Xiao Chun. He was a king-grade true dragon genius with great luck. In the Sky Dome realm, it would be very difficult for him to be killed. All sorts of things would happen. It was like heaven was looking after him, allowing him to escape from death's door. The result was as Old Feng expected. The hanging Sima Hong was the best proof. Who could have imagined that a martial sage who attacked a martial monarch would end up in such a state, becoming the joke of the world? But it was this unbelievable thing that really happened in front of everyone's eyes. In the Sky Dome realm, Xiao Chun was the bearer of luck. He would not die so easily. Only in the Kunlun realm, where there were many geniuses with great luck, would Xiao Chun run into some fatal danger. 10 days later, the Sima clan's old clan head, who had already retired, personally came to apologize with 200,000 superior-grade spirit stones. Only then did he bring back the Sima father and son. When facing Leng Tianyun, who possessed a divine weapon, and the Sima clan being in the wrong, no matter how dissatisfied and sullen he felt, he did not dare to show it. Otherwise, even if Leng Tianyun said to kill the two, the old clan head would not be able to do anything. Comparing 200,000 superior-grade spirit stones to a martial sage, the old clan head could still differentiate which was more valuable. Leng Tianyun used half of the 200,000 superior-grade spirit stones for the reconstruction of the heaven ascending platform and for the treatment and rewards of the many disciples. The remaining half, 100,000 superior-grade spirit stones, were all given to Xiao Chun. Furthermore, Leng Tianyun also refined the inferior-grade spirit gathering pearls and gave Xiao Chun 100 of them, fulfilling his promise. Compared to superior-grade spirit stones, the effects of spirit gathering pearls were much better. Not only were there more of them, but they were also pure. Given this, Xiao Chun now had 200 inferior-grade spirit-gathering pearls. It would not be enough for him to use them for cultivation every day. He would use them all in a few days. Xiao Chun intended to use the spirit-gathering pearls to break through bottlenecks or use them for emergencies. For example, when he suddenly ran out of essence and needed to replenish it. If he had spirit-gathering pearls, it would be much easier. In the battle with Sima Hong, Xiao Chun felt a sense of danger. He was still too weak before a martial sage. In the future, when Xiao Chun went to the Kunlun realm, his luck would not be as strong. He could not wait for others to save him at all times. He needed to have his own trump cards. The physical body of a martial sage had already become a sage body. If he did not truly injure the other party, it would be hard to deal any damage to them. Xiao Chun temporarily gave up on severely injuring a martial sage. That was not realistic. Xiao Chun's goal was to be able to leave easily when he met a martial sage. At the very least, he needed to be able to protect himself. Xiao Chun could only raise his blue dragon cloud soaring art to great perfection and see if he could snatch a chance of survival from a martial sage. If the other geniuses of the same generation knew what Xiao Chun was thinking, they would be greatly astonished. They were still thinking about how to break through to martial monarch and how to deal with a medial-grade martial monarch. However, Xiao Chun's gaze was fixed on martial sage. He was much stronger than them, leaving them far behind. There was a waterfall at the back of Qinyun Peak. Below the waterfall was a lake 3 kilometers wide. In the past, when Xiao Chen was here, he had cultivated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art to consummation. The blue dragon was of the water attribute. Cultivating the blue dragon cloud soaring art in this lake would definitely be faster. While cultivating, time would pass strangely quickly. Perhaps the last time he looked up was the morning sun. In the next moment, he comprehended something, and the sun was already setting. When he looked up, the day and night changed. Loneliness flooded his heart like the tide. The surroundings were silent, only the sound of flowing water could be heard. However, no matter how lonely it was, he had to endure it. In his fight with Sima Hong, Xiao Chen had suffered too much. He had nearly lost his life. If he didn't want the same thing to happen a second time, he would have to endure all of this. Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations. Above the lake, Xiao Chen shouted, and a dragon roar resounded endlessly in his chest. His figure flashed, and 9 identical clones appeared on the water. Whoosh! Whoosh! Compared to the roaming dragon's 9 transformations, these clones did not look any different. However, if one observed carefully, one would discover that each clone had an ethereal dragon-shaped aura surrounding them. This made the clones seem more realistic. Not only were they made of flesh and blood, but they also had a physical form and spirit. Their expressions did not appear dull. Among the small tricks of the blue dragon cloud soaring art, the roaming dragon's 9 transformations was Xiao Chen's favorite. This move could be used to advance or retreat. When attacking, it could confuse the opponent. When leaving, it would be hard to distinguish the real from the fake. However, it was far from sufficient to deal with a martial sage. Xiao Chen shook his head slightly, and the 9 clones merged together. A resonant dragon roar came from behind him, causing a pillar of water to surge into the sky. Blue Dragon Tail Whip! Hu Qi! A strong wind blew. Xiao Chen's body seemed to have turned into a dragon's tail, drawing a long arc on the water surface. As his figure flashed, he created a crescent moon-shaped pillar of water. Chapter 6:25. In a breath of time, Xiao Chen moved 5 kilometers. Everywhere the strong wind blew, waves splashed. After he stood still, the lake water fell to the ground like a pattering rain. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. He muttered to himself, "The explosive power of the blue dragon tail whip is already comparable to Sima Hong's speed. However, it is not enough to increase the explosive power. The most important thing is to raise my basic speed." Time flew by. Xiao Chen stayed on the small lake for 2 months. He cultivated the blue dragon cloud soaring art at every moment. He felt that he was not far from great perfection. Now, he circulated the blue dragon cloud soaring art. As he soared into the air, the blue dragon image under his feet could exist. It would not be like before, where it could only exist for a short period of time, flickering. Xiao Chen's speed increased by another 20%. However, it was still far from the result he wanted. According to the secret manual, after the blue dragon cloud soaring art reaches great perfection, I can materialize another 2 blue dragons to aid in flight. When cultivated to the limit, I can materialize 18 blue dragons. Xiao Chen's face sank slightly. He felt somewhat frustrated. 2 months had passed, and he was still far from his goal of shaking off an inferior-grade martial sage. He had only taken a small step forward. His goal was still very far away. He stomped heavily on the surface of the water, and 18 pillars of water shot up into the sky from the calm lake. When they landed, Xiao Chen's eyes widened. When they landed, Xiao Chen closed his eyes and allowed the water to drench his clothes. He slowly calmed his frustrated emotions. "Senior brother Xiao Chen, the spirit herbs you wanted are all prepared." Just at this moment, a melodious voice entered Xiao Chen's ears. Jade Maiden Peak's Chu Xinyun arrived quietly. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and circulated his quintessence. A mist rose from his body, and his clothes immediately became very dry. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and walked over to Chu Xinyun. 2 months ago, Xiao Chun had asked Chu Xinyun to look for the other ingredients for the beauty-halting pill. Jade Maiden Peak did not have many spirit herbs. Xiao Chun did not have much time, so he could only find someone to help. Coincidentally, Xiao Chen's blue dragon cloud soaring art had reached a small bottleneck. He needed to go out and exercise for a while, so he decided to refine the beauty-halting pill. Chu Xinyun handed a spatial ring to Xiao Chen and said, "I have already found the 99 herbs and spirit flowers that you wanted. They are all in here. Check if there are any mistakes." Xiao Chen accepted the ring and checked it. When he did not find anything wrong, he said happily, "Many thanks, junior sister Chu. You have helped me a lot." Chu Xinyun smiled faintly and said with some envy, "If I am not wrong, you should be refining the youth-halting pill. It can preserve your appearance for 1,000 years. Elder sister Ryue is really fortunate. Compared to men, women placed more importance on their appearance. They were afraid that time would be merciless and they would lose their youth. Being able to preserve one's appearance for 1,000 years was undoubtedly the dream of every woman. Naturally, Chu Xinyun was no exception. However, she knew that these 99 ingredients would cost a lot of spirit stones. Furthermore, it would not be easy to refine them. Wanting Xiao Chen to help her refine one was too much of an extravagant hope. "I will take my leave first. I will not disturb your cultivation any longer." Chu Xinyun stopped thinking about this matter and prepared to take her leave. Xiao Chen called out to stop her, "Wait a moment, this is the alchemic recipe for the youth-halting pill. If you have time in the future, you can refine it yourself." Xiao Chen could tell what the other party was thinking. However, some of the ingredients were not suitable. In a few months, Xiao Chen would be leaving. He would not be able to help her refine another one, so he gave the alchemic recipe to her. Chu Xinyun looked at Xiao Chen in disbelief. The alchemic recipe for the youth-halting pill was worth cities. It would not be an exaggeration to say that its price was astronomical. However, Xiao Chen actually gave it to her so casually. After handing the alchemic recipe to Chu Xinyun, Xiao Chen immediately returned to his residence and started to prepare to refine the youth-halting pill. 99 kinds of herbs were arranged neatly on the wooden table. After counting them, Xiao Chen finally took out the blue dragon medicine cauldron. Looking at the blue dragon medicine cauldron with overwhelming spiritual energy, Xiao Chen became somewhat distracted. The image of that otherworldly girl who liked to dress up in men's clothes appeared in his mind. "I wonder how she is now? I will be leaving the Sky Dome realm soon. After I refine the youth-halting pill, I should make a trip to the imperial capital." Xiao Chen collected his thoughts and muttered to himself. He still owed the other party a promise. If there was an opportunity, it would be best if he could repay it before leaving. Dong, dong, dong. Just as Xiao Chen prepared to refine the pill, a series of knocks on the door made him stop what he was doing. Who could be knocking at this time? Before he came, Xiao Chen had instructed Lu Suifeng not to let anyone disturb him. Xiao Chen waved his long sleeves and put away the herbs on the table, as well as the blue dragon medicine cauldron. Then, he went to open the door. A fragrance wafted over, and a girl in a red dress stood at the door. She looked very pretty, capable of causing the downfall of nations. Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. Then, he smiled and asked, "What wind blew princess you here?" The person who came was the very popular Princess Yu of the great Qin nation. Yu said softly, "Is it because you obtained the top rank of the true dragon ranking that you dare to speak to me so rudely?" Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "How could I dare? One does not come here for no reason. Princess, just get straight to the point." Yu withdrew her smile and said sullenly, "Do you still remember the agreement you made with Feng Feishue?" Xiao Chen was stunned. He nodded and said, "Naturally, I remember. Back then, outside Mo City, she gave me the blue dragon cloud soaring art, and I made a promise to her." Yu said, "She is in trouble. She is currently under house arrest by her clansmen." Xiao Chen frowned and said, "House arrest? Why?" Most of the Feng clan's businesses were personally managed by Feng Feishue. Feng Feishue held great authority in the Feng clan. How could she be under house arrest for no reason? Yu organized her thoughts and said, "The Feng clan is the second-ranked merchant association in the world. Do you know that the first-ranked merchant association is the Wan Clan Merchant Association?" Xiao Chen indicated that he understood. Of the 5 great merchant associations, the Great Jin Nation's Wan Clan Merchant Association was the strongest. Xiao Chen had seen this before in Dragon Sealing City. Aside from ignorance of tea, all the businesses in Dragon Sealing City were managed by the Wan Clan. Although Dragon Sealing City was only open for a month, the 1 million people qualified to go were the strongest cultivators in the entire continent. The Wan Clan definitely did not lack spirit stones. Just this 1 month of business would be sufficient for the Wan Clan to earn a large sum. Xiao Chen obtained some information about the Wan Clan Merchant Association from Kim Taeho. It was a very strong faction. The Wan Clan had accumulated a lot of wealth. However, he had never heard of anyone extorting the Wan Clan. It was impossible for the other party to do so without some accumulations and strength. Otherwise, such a fat sheep would have been eaten up by some strong sects and martial sages long ago. Yu continued, 4 years ago, the Wan Clan's young master fell in love with Feng Feishue at first sight. He got the Wan Clan's elders to propose marriage to Feng Feishue. The Wan Clan is much stronger than the Feng Clan. If the Wan Clan offended the Feng Clan, it would be very difficult for the Feng Clan Merchant Association to do business. Furthermore, many people in the upper echelon of the Feng Clan wanted to use this opportunity to build connections with the Wan Clan. Thus, this marriage was set. 4 years ago, Xiao Chen recalled some past event. The first time he met Feng Feishue in Mo City seemed to have been 4 years ago. Could it be that back then, Feng Feishue came to Mo City because of this? Did she anticipate this day? Xiao Chen remained silent for a long time before saying, "Princess Yu, what is the relationship between the Xiao clan and the Feng clan in Mo City?" Given the relationship between Yu and Feng Feishue, as well as the intelligence network of the Great Qin Nation's royal court, it was impossible for Yu not to know about this. Xiao Chen could not help but ask about the doubts that he had been hiding in his heart. Yu revealed a stunned expression. She asked in surprise, "Did your father not tell you?" Xiao Chen shook his head, indicating that he did not. Yu muttered, "Even so, I cannot tell you. I only ask you if you will fulfill your promise and bear this responsibility, preventing this marriage." Bearing this responsibility would mean becoming enemies with the strongest merchant association in the continent. Although Xiao Chen was strong now, it would be like striking a rock with an egg when facing a superpower. Xiao Chen did not think for too long. He said calmly, "Since she has spoken, I will naturally do my best." Yu smiled gently. "Feng Feishue did not misjudge you. Just because of these words of yours, it was worth it for her to bear it for 4 years. I need to make some preparations before I can follow you to the imperial capital." Yu nodded. "In that case, I will wait for you in Saber City. Feng Feishue's father will be there as well. The main thing is that the old man of the Feng clan just passed away. Her father is not able to hold on much longer. Otherwise, he would be able to drag things out for a while longer." "I understand." After Feng Feishue left, Xiao Chen went to the small tree in the courtyard and sat down. Then, he took out 2 medallions from the universe ring and fiddled with them slowly. He revealed a pensive expression. Of the 2 medallions, one was the minor Haotian medallion of the Haotian sect, and the other was the heavenly fiend medallion of the Myriad Fiend Palace. Either medallion could help Xiao Chen ask for a favor from a martial sage at a crucial moment. The favor from 2 martial sages was also the reason why Xiao Chen did not fear the other superpowers when he traveled the world. Martial sages stood at the top of the pyramid of power in the continent. They were not people that any sect could afford to offend. However, it is probably impossible to get them to help me deal with the Wan clan. However, they should be able to keep me alive. The two medallions floated quietly in front of Shao Chun. Finally, Shao Chun made up his mind. Shao Chun put away the Haotian medallion and grasped the Heavenly Fiend medallion tightly with his right hand. I should keep the minor Haotian medallion for when I go to the Kunlun realm. In the end, the Wan clan is just a merchant association. One martial sage is sufficient to keep me alive. Shao Chun pushed off the ground and stood on a blue dragon image. He moved up and down in the air, moving at a speed that far surpassed that of a martial monarch of the same cultivation realm, heading for the ancient, desolate land. 10 days later, Shao Chun arrived at the Myriad Fiend Palace at the bottom of the Heavenly Extermination Lake. After he presented the Heavenly Fiend Medallion, he was received by Bai's father, Anzishuan. After Shao Chun stated his purpose for coming, Anzishuan received the Heavenly Fiend Medallion and smiled faintly. I thought that you would never be able to use this Heavenly Fiend Medallion. Shao Chun asked somewhat uncertainly, Senior, will you approve of my request? Anzishuan put away the medallion and said softly, although the Wan clan is strong, they are still businessmen in the end. I can still protect your life. However, I also have something that I need your help with. Shao Chun performed a cupped fist salute and said, Speak your mind. This junior will do his best to do it. Chapter 626. And Zishuan smiled and said, Bai Jiang Zimo and Mu Xinya have already taken the Kunlun realm. If you go to the Kunlun realm, if you have the opportunity, please take care of them. Shao Chun said in surprise, I remember that the three of them did not make it into the top 20. They did not meet the requirements of the Bushan Palace. And Zishuan did not explain further. He said, The Bushan Palace is only the Bushan Palace of you humans. It is not the Bushan Palace of our fiend race. Shao Chun understood a little. He said, Definitely. The three of them are my friends. Even if Senior did not say so, I would have done so. After leaving the Myriad Fiend Palace, Shao Chun heaved a sigh of relief. After thinking for a while, he headed for the headquarters of the Great Tang Nation's Golden Rock Merchant Association. Shao Chun did not understand the strength of the Myriad Clan Merchant Association. He needed to find someone he could trust to understand the other party's strength. Of all the people that Shao Chun knew, only Kim Tae-ho understood the Myriad Clan Merchant Association the best. Shao Chun stood on an azure dragon in the air, flying continuously towards the Great Tang Nation's capital, traveling at his fastest speed. Shao Chun's blue dragon cloud soaring art showed signs of making a breakthrough. This was a pleasant surprise. 10 days later, Shao Chun arrived at the Great Tang Nation's capital. However, Kim Tae-ho's whereabouts were unknown. Shao Chun did not see Shao Chun immediately. He only found Shao Chun on the third day after he spread the news. Shao Chun did not like to speak nonsense. He got right to the point and told Shao Chun why he was here. After Fatso heard that, his eyes narrowed. He laughed loudly and said, To think that this little girl would have such a day. Damn it, she usually snatched away a lot of business from this fat lord. Seeing Shao Chun's unfriendly expression, Kim Tae-ho quickly said, I was too excited and could not control my emotions. Brother Shao Chun, don't blame me. I will tell you about the strength of the Wan Merchant Association. Kim Tae-ho took a sip of wine and said, Now that you have advanced to Martial Monarch, the Martial King experts of the Wan clan are not worthy of your attention. I will not talk about this. I will focus on the Martial Monarch experts that the Merchant Association hired. The Wan Clan Merchant Association had a total of 18 large branches in the Tianwu continent. Each branch had 2 Martial Monarch experts. Their cultivations ranged from peak inferior grade Martial Monarch to medial grade Martial Monarch. After all, the Wan Clan's Merchant Association was rich in resources. It would be difficult to find an early-stage inferior-grade Martial Monarch. Just the branches already had 36 Martial Monarchs. They were several times stronger than the heavenly saber pavilion. When Xiao Chun heard Fatso's explanation, he was slightly astonished. The peak combat power of the Tianwu continent was the martial sage, but there were very few martial sages. There were hundreds of millions of people in the Sky Dome realm. The boundless sea, the ancient desolate land, and the Tianwu continent had more than 100 martial sages. Compared to the vast Sky Dome realm, there were very few martial sages. Furthermore, martial sages were busy comprehending the heavenly Tao. Very few of them would bother with mundane matters. When it came to disputes between ordinary people, martial monarchs were already the peak. To most people, martial sages were legends. Most people only heard of martial sages and rarely saw one. In their hearts, martial monarchs were already peak experts. However, although the 36 martial monarchs were strong, Xiao Chun did not care too much about them. As long as they were not superior-grade martial monarchs, it would be fine. Kim Tae-ho continued, "These are just the strength of the branches. The truly strong ones are the Wan clan's headquarters. The headquarters has what they call the 8 great guardian deities, superior-grade martial monarchs. The 8 great guardian deities are the nicknames of 8 superior-grade martial monarchs. They are very famous and extremely strong. Once, there was a peak martial monarch bandit who wanted to rob the Wan clan's headquarters. When the 8 great guardian deities worked together, they destroyed the bandit within 100 moves. The 8 great guardian deities. Xiao Chen made a mental note of them. Then, he looked at the other party and said, "They should not be so weak. Otherwise, your Jin clan would not be suppressed by the Wan clan." Kim Tae-ho took a big gulp of wine and said, "That's right. Rumor has it that the Wan clan has a martial sage as well. That is their greatest trump card." After hearing Kim Tae-ho's explanation, Xiao Chen gained a better understanding of the Wan clan's merchant association. Everyone only knew about the 8 noble clans and the 10 great sections. Unexpectedly, the great Jin nation had a merchant association that was comparable to a noble clan. In terms of overall strength, many of the noble clans could not compare to the Wan clan's merchant association. 36 martial monarchs, the 8 great guardian deities, the martial sages at the top of the pyramid. The Wan clan's accumulations were truly horrifying. Seeing that Xiao Chen was about to leave, Fatso hesitated for a while before telling him about Wan Feng's matter. He said, "Little brother Xiao Chen, the welcoming envoy this time seems to be related to the Wan clan. You'd best be mentally prepared." Xiao Chen paused for a moment, but he could only shake his head and smile bitterly. One martial sage was already enough of a headache for him. Unexpectedly, there was another welcoming envoy now. However, since Xiao Chen had already made a promise, there was no longer any chance to go back on it. Even if there was a mountain of daggers or a sea of flames, a dragon's lair or a tiger's den, he had to continue forward. Kim Tae-ho watched as Xiao Chen left. He squinted slightly and revealed a contemplative expression on his chubby face. He muttered to himself, "The Wan clan is not that easy to deal with. Just Xiao Chen alone will not be enough." After a long time, Kim Tae-ho seemed to have made a decision. He said to the manservant beside him, "Gather all the martial monarchs that the Golden Rock Merchant Association can use in the shortest time possible. Also, invite the Heavenly Craft Manners Miss Sue over. Damn it, this fat lord will make a bet as well. Roar! Roar!" As the blue dragon roared, Xiao Chen soared into the air. He stood on the blue dragon image and rushed back to the heavenly saber pavilion without stopping. Ancient desolate land, great Tang nation's capital. Traveling back and forth took close to a month. Xiao Chen did not wanting you to take too long. Xiao Chen flew quickly in the air. 10,000 meters in the air, cultivators with good eyesight could see a blue dragon moving up and down in the cloud. It was like a rainbow piercing through the sun, scattering the clouds in front of it. The white-robed Xiao Chen stood on the dragon's head, facing the wind. No expression could be seen on his delicate face. "Chi! Suddenly, Xiao Qin felt that the blue dragon cloud soaring art was about to break through from small perfection to great perfection. This feeling was very miraculous. There was no need for him to circulate the energy of the blue dragon cloud soaring art. His quintessence was like water, slowly flowing through his meridians. Some of the smaller meridians that he would not normally pass through also flowed through. Xiao Qin could clearly feel the azure dragon image under his feet roaring with all its might. Its speed increased explosively, tearing small tears in space. Roar! A resonant dragon roar resounded. The blue dragon cloud soaring art had finally reached great perfection. The quintessence, which had completed a small cycle, returned to his dantian and started to circulate according to the great perfection meridian diagram. Xiao! Xiao! Aside from the blue dragon image below Xiaoqin, 2 more blue dragon images appeared beside Xiaoqin. His speed was more than twice as fast as before, reaching Mach 8. Xiaoqin had not been able to break through his bottleneck after 2 months of closed-door cultivation. He had not expected that he would break through so naturally while flying at his limit. This astonished Xiaoqin. However, without those 2 months of bitter cultivation, accumulating a large amount of experience, he would not be able to make such a breakthrough. In the end, it was just a matter of time. Blue Dragon Tail Whip. Xiaoqin revealed a joyful expression as he executed the Blue Dragon Tail Whip. In that instant, 3 blue dragon images moved at the same time. As the dragon tails swung, they struck Xiaoqin heavily. Hu Qi! In that instant, a resplendent azure light streaked across the sky. Everywhere the azure light passed, Xiaoqin moved 10 kilometers in one breath. When Xiaoqin looked back, there was another Xiaoqin standing in the air 10 kilometers behind him. That was an afterimage he left behind because he was moving too fast. After 3 breaths of time, the afterimage slowly faded until it disappeared. Xiaoqin smiled gently and said, "In an instant, I moved 10 kilometers to face a martial sage. I finally have a chance to leave." However, the great perfection blue dragon cloud soaring art exhausts too much quintessence. Normally, I only need 1 blue dragon to assist me in battle. After Xiaoqin returned to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, he headed straight for the courtyard where Lung Tianyun was. When he found Lung Tianyun, Xiaoqin bowed respectfully and told him why he was here. "Senior, can you lend this junior the divine weapon?" If an ordinary person said this to Lung Tianyun, he would have slapped the person away. How could a divine weapon be lent so easily? However, the one who spoke was Xiaoqin. Lung Tianyun could not help but enter deep thought. After a long time, he slowly said, "I can sense a holy seal in your mind. Since Lu Tianyu promised you this opportunity, I will not reject it." "Who?" Lung Tianyun casually waved his hand, and the wooden box containing the divine weapon flew out. Xiaoqin stretched out his hand and caught the wooden box. He said softly, "Many thanks, senior." With the divine weapon, Xiaoqin felt more confident on this trip. However, he still hoped that he did not have to use it. He just needed to deter the other party. Finally, Xiaoqin took out the superior grade inner vest that the Haotian sect had given him from the universe ring. This was a defensive superior grade secret treasure. It could increase his defense by 20%. The favor from the heavenly fiend palaces in Zishuan, the information from Kim Taeho, the defensive superior grade secret treasure, and the divine weapon heavenly universe, everything was ready. Xiaoqin covered the wooden box containing the divine weapon with a black cloth and carried it on his back. Then, he took a deep breath and headed for Saber City. In an inn in Saber City, the Feng clan's clan head, Feng Tianming, and Yingyu had already been waiting for Xiaoqin for more than a month. At this moment, the two of them sat down at a tea table. There was an ancient tea set on the table. An incense burner sat in the upper right corner of the table. Smoke wafted out, refreshing the mind. Feng Tianming wore luxurious clothes and withdrew his aura. He took a sip of tea and said, "Princess Yu, We have already waited for so long. Could it be that Xiao Chen is not coming? Feng Tianming could not help but feel suspicious. Right now, Xiao Chen had a great future ahead of him. He stood at the top of the younger generation and was a king-grade true dragon genius. After he entered the Kunlun realm, he would be able to advance to martial sage at the very least. If Xiao Chen's luck was good, he might become a second Thunder King if he was not careful. Xiao Chen did not want to offend the strong Wan clan over something he said 4 years ago, seeking trouble for himself. After all, he had not truly matured yet. Yu put down the teacup in her hand and revealed a faint smile on her pretty face. She said, "Don't worry. I understand him. Fei Xue understands him as well. Otherwise, she would not have endured for 4 years for him." Chapter 6:27. Feng Tianming sighed and revealed a helpless expression. He muttered, "If only I could be like great-grandfather and become a martial sage, Xue would not have to suffer like this. You don't have to look for Xiao Chen at this time. Our Feng family owes him too much." From the bottom of his heart, Feng Tianming did not want to trouble Xiao Chen. However, the old man had passed away. The huge Feng clan was no longer something that he could control alone. Many people who were eyeing the position of clan head started to use Feng Feishua's marriage as an excuse to attack him. If Xiao Chen wanted to get those people to shut up and not let Feng Feishua suffer, he could only get Xiao Chen to make an appearance. There was no other way. Yu said softly, "It's fine. Even if Xiao Chen knows why your cousin left the Xiao clan back then, he will not go back on his promise. He is a man of his word. Xiao Chen is such a person. He doesn't make promises, but once he does, he will do his best to fulfill them." Dong dong dong. As the two conversed, someone knocked on the door. Feng Tianming went to open the door and discovered the waiter. "Dear guests, there is a white-robed bladesman downstairs. He says he wants to see you." Yu and Feng Tianming exchanged glances and revealed expressions of joy. Xiao Chen finally arrived. It would not be difficult for Xiao Chen to find out where Yu and Feng Tianming were in Saber City. The city lord's residence would definitely know the whereabouts of such important people. Xiao Chen followed the waiter and carried the black, squarish wooden box on his back. Soon, he arrived at Yu's booth. "I'm sorry. I've prepared too much and made the two of you wait." Xiao Chen cupped his hands and apologized. When Feng Tianming felt the dense quintessence aura from Xiao Chen's body, a look of astonishment flashed in his eyes. There was also a complicated feeling in his heart. Yu stood up and said, "It's fine. Let's go now. This is the Feng clan's clan head, Feng Tianming. He is also Feng Feishua's father." Feng Tianming recovered his wits and said seriously, "Many thanks for your help. Right now, it is very urgent. We can talk about some things on the way. Let's fly back to the imperial capital first." Above the 9 heavens, a huge golden bird stretched out its huge wings, which had a wingspan of over 300 zhang. It soared through the clouds at 6 times the speed of sound, breaking through the sky. 8 people stood on the back of the bird. Aside from Xiao Chen's group of 3, there were 5 of Feng Tianming's bodyguards. These bodyguards were all peak inferior grade martial monarchs. Together, they were a strong force. Feng Tianming explained the situation to Xiao Chen. The martial sage of the Feng clan had passed away, and Feng Tianming's elder brothers had fought for the position of clan head. Using Feng Tianming's rejection of the marriage alliance with the Wan clan as an excuse, they worked together to make things difficult for him, forcing him to fulfill his original promise, allowing the Wan clan's young master to marry Feng Feishue as soon as possible. Feng Tianming respected Feng Feishue's opinion and did not agree. This caused the group of people to reach a stalemate. Furthermore, for some reason, the Wan clan's attitude had become abnormally unyielding. With the secret support of the Wan clan, those people placed Feng Feishue under house arrest, not allowing her to go out. After Xiao Chen heard everything, he entered deep thought. Then, he said, "You mean that if I go over, They will not dare to force Feng Feishue to marry Feng Feishue? Feng Tianming remained silent for a while before replying, that is indeed the case. For hundreds and thousands of years, the Shao clan and the Feng clan had always been connected by marriage. This was the ancestral teachings, which only ended during your parents' generation. Because the Blue Dragon martial spirit disappeared and the Shao clan declined, the Feng clan ended the ancestral teachings. Now you possess the Blue Dragon martial spirit and are the top ranker of the True Dragon ranking. If you say that you want to marry Feng Feishue, that group of people will not dare to say anything. After saying this, Feng Tianming carefully observed Xiao Chen's expression. After all, his cousin, Xiao Chen's birth mother, had been Feng Feishue's cousin. Because she had looked down on Xiao Chen's father's cultivation and the marriage was arranged by the elders, she had no feelings for him. After giving birth to Xiao Chen, she had left the Xiao clan. To Xiao Chen's father, this was a great humiliation. He was afraid that this matter would upset Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. However, great waves surged in his mind. No wonder when Feng Feishue came to the Xiao clan, his father did not even want to see her. No wonder his father was unwilling to seek help from the Feng clan during the Xiao clan's most critical moment. It turned out that he had suffered such humiliation in the past. For the sake of getting rid of him, a woman had even abandoned the son she had just given birth to. This was a huge blow to a man's pride. Xiao Chen calmed himself and said, "Let's talk when we get there. The matters of my father's generation have nothing to do with me. It will not affect my decision." When Feng Tianming heard this, he heaved a sigh of relief and did not say anything more. 5 days later, after passing through countless cities, the group finally arrived at the bustling imperial capital. Then, they landed in front of the huge Feng clan residence. "Greetings, clan head." "Greetings, clan head." The 2 rows of guards in front of the residence bowed respectfully and greeted Feng Tianming. The doors to the residence opened, and a person who looked like a housekeeper came out. Feng Tianming quickly led the group into the residence. The Feng clan residence occupied a large area. As the group passed through several gardens and corridors, they met countless servants along the way. Several people paid attention to Xiao Chen, whispering to each other. They wondered if he was the Genius King grade white-robed bladesman on the True Dragon ranking. "Uncle Fu, call my big brother and the others to the Great Hall. I have something to say to him," Feng Tianming said to the old man who looked like a housekeeper. "There is no need to look for him. I am already here." Just at this moment, a middle-aged man with an overbearing aura led a large group of people around a bend in the road in front of Feng Tianming and the others. This was Feng Tianming's big brother, Feng Tianhua. He had a sinister smile on his face, and a sword hung at his waist. His gaze was cold, like a venomous snake in the dark night. Feng Tianming ignored the other party's attitude. He raised his hand and said, "You came at the right time. I have something to discuss with you." Feng Tianhua chuckled and said, "I happen to have something to discuss with you as well." "Tianming, you came at the right time." Feng Tianming frowned slightly. He did not know what the other party was planning. He said, "Come with me to the Great Hall first. Later, I will gather all the elders of the clan. You can speak then." "Ha ha. There is no need for you to gather the elders." Feng Tianhua smiled sinisterly. 3 days ago, niece Feishu and her aunt were brought to the Great Jin Nation by the Wan clan. 7 days later, the Wan clan will hold a wedding ceremony. At that time, all the famous people of the continent will attend the wedding. The moment Feng Tianhua said this, Xiao Chen and the others were stunned. Feng Tianming shouted angrily, "Feng Tianhua, who is the clan head? Do you want me to beat you up and send you to the clan's disciplinary hall?" "Beat me up and send me to the disciplinary hall?" Feng Tianhua smiled coldly and retorted, "What qualifications do you have to beat me up and send me to the disciplinary hall? Do you know the relationship between the welcoming envoy of the upper realm and the Wan clan? How foolish! The Feng clan nearly died because of you. Do you know that? The welcoming envoy is the grandson of that major character of the Wan clan. 3 days ago, it was that welcoming envoy who personally brought niece Feishui away. Feng Tianhua spat out these 3 sentences at an extremely fast speed, causing the atmosphere in the air to freeze. Feng Tianming's expression could not help but change. He had not expected things to become so troublesome. He muttered, "There were rumors long ago that the Wan clan's martial sage spent a lot of effort to send his grandson to the upper realm through Dragon Sealing City 10 years ago. Unexpectedly, the other party managed to make a name for himself. For Wan Feng to be able to become the welcoming envoy of the Bushan Palace, his strength in the Kunlun realm was definitely not to be underestimated. His connections were also very extensive. With this trip, the Wan clan had probably established a connection with the upper realm. In the next 1,000 years, the Wan clan's position in the Tianwu continent would be even more unshakable." Feng Tianhua smiled coldly as he shouted, "Now, do you know who the true sinner of the Feng clan is? A marriage alliance with the Wan clan will only bring benefits to our Feng clan. Unexpectedly, you keep making excuses. You are simply trying to push the Feng clan into a dead end. You only care about your own personal interests. What qualifications do you have to be the Feng clan's clan head? The Feng clan's vast business concerns the interests of tens of thousands of people. What face do you have to cling to the position of clan head?" With the support of the Wan clan, Feng Tianhua did not care about Feng Tianming at all. Using the resources that the Wan clan provided, he managed to bribe several of the upper echelon of the clan. Right now, Feng Tianhua wanted to take advantage of the situation to remove Feng Tianming from the position of clan head and become the clan head himself, fulfilling his dream of several decades. Feng Tianhua took another heavy step forward and pointed at Feng Tianming's nose. He said, 30 years ago, when the old man chose you to be the clan head, I was already unconvinced. Look at the current Feng clan. It is nearly suppressed by the great Tang nation's Jin clan. What capabilities do you have to be the clan head?